Good evening. I'd like to call the March 2018 County Commission meeting to order. The first thing we have is invocation and pledge. The invocation by Commissioner Burt Chalifant and the pledge by Commissioner Ricky Jones. Please stand.
Our Father in heaven, hear our prayers. Remember the family of Sarah Cook. Be with Diane Giddens in her surgery. In every hour of this meeting, reveal your will to us. Bless our dealings with all who surround us. Teach us to treat all that come to us throughout the day with peace of soul and with firm conviction that your will governs all. In all these deeds and works, guide our thoughts and feelings. In unforeseen events, let us not forget that all things are under your care. Teach us to act firmly and wisely without embittering and embarrassing others. Give us strength and direct our will. Teach us to pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we have roll call. If you're present, push your yes button and confirm. Record the roll, Ms. Anderson. All right. And I have heard from all four of those, and they will not be here. Next, we have approval of the minutes of the February 12th, 2018 County Commission meeting. Copies were mailed to each member of the commission, so I'll entertain a motion.
Move for approval. Second.
Mr. Little, Commissioner Chalifant, a second. All in favor of those as submitted, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And they pass unanimously. Next, we have citizens communication. When I call your name, if you'll come forward, state your name and your address. And according to our rules, each person has 3 minutes to speak. So I will remind you when there's about 15 seconds left, and we appreciate you staying within that 3 minutes. So the first one we have is Connie Regula.
That was pretty good. Thank you.
I had both of them saying the same thing.
Proverbs 31:8 commands us to speak for those who cannot speak for themselves. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Connie Regula. I am an attorney in this community and have practiced law throughout the state of Tennessee for 20 years, and I am a mom. In 2008, my teenage daughter did one of the scariest things a child can do. She met a man online and ran away. I quickly found that I could get no help from the police in locating my daughter unless I filed a runaway petition in juvenile court, and I did, the biggest mistake of my life. Over the course of the next 3 months, I would find my family bound with orders and demands from Judge Guffey, who was then the magistrate, that would ultimately damage my daughter psychologically and have a long-term effect on my family. My daughter returned home, and I focused on reintegrating her into normal life. When my daughter answered the cell phone laying on a bedside table, she was quickly told by one of Judge Guffey's employees she had violated a court order, so the police would be coming to the house to arrest her. I then received a phone call that my daughter would be restrained in zip ties and taken to jail and would not even be able to talk to her for 24 hours. Judge Guffey forced me to bring my other 2 children to court where there had been no allegations of abuse and threatened to put them in foster care. Now, let me assure you, my daughter was not a criminal. She did not use drugs. She did not steal. She did not disobey school rules. She did not fight. She did not abuse animals. She was not a criminal. And yet, under the instruction of Judge Guffey, law enforcement treated her like a criminal, causing great distress and leaving her with post-traumatic stress that still affects her today. It was only after Judge Guffey had left the case that I was able to get a full hearing and unravel what had occurred, the madness that had occurred to my family. After this was all over, I was willing to write it off as some kind of a personal conflict and said, well, maybe she doesn't like me and my life will go on. However, after Judge Guffey became the judge in 2013, I was repeatedly approached by families who told me equally horrifying stories. When I was told about the assaults taken against them in the courtroom, I said, well, this will be easy to resolve. We'll get the courtroom videos and we can see what happened. However, Judge Guffey had entered her own local rule that prohibited the clerk from releasing courtroom videos without her permission. And of course, when the parents requested them, she denied it. Instead of modifying that rule, the taxpayers of Williamson County paid for the county attorney to fight that all the way to the Court of Appeals. In all the juvenile courts I have worked in Tennessee, Williamson County Juvenile Court is the only one that has refused to produce courtroom videos. Williamson County is a community of prosperity and growth, and yet the operation of our juvenile court and our public schools is shameful. As commissioners, you control the checkbook and you can force change in these venues. You are now going to hear others tell their stories and share the destruction in their lives that occurred in this courtroom. I implore you to put this knowledge to action and make the county one that strives to support family development as much as it does economic development. And I have one slight modification in the list. If you would allow us, I had everybody come up and sign it in order. I am going to ask that after Roy Matlock, you call Miss Denise Andrews. She's on the back. If you would just kind of insert her in there, she'll just be a couple minutes. I also have some photographs that these families have brought, and if you will implore me, I'll just kind of stand up and show those photographs while they're speaking. I've asked everybody to keep their speeches short. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Natasha Pavlovic.
Thank you. I'm Natasha Pavlovic. On September 12, 2016, I spoke before this committee about my experiences with Judge Sharon Guffey. In August 2017, I spoke at the House Legislature about Judge Sharon Guffey. And I'm back here today to urge you to investigate and remove her from the bench as Williamson County Juvenile Court Judge. I have firsthand experience and knowledge of Judge Guffey's abuse of power, incompetence, and corruption. I want to clarify that I'm not here to make an appeal on my case, or because, as Judge Guffey stated, that I'm, quote, dissatisfied with a ruling I received in my court, unquote. While I do not agree with her unconstitutional rulings, I am here today to inform you of her illegal behavior, her bullying tactics, and her disdain for the legal system. I was in front of Judge Guffey on matters of child custody and the establishment of a parenting plan when Judge Guffey threatened, quote, if you don't know how to parent, I will take the child from both of you and put her in foster care, unquote. Without evidence of abuse, neglect, or wrongdoings by either parent, her threat was unnecessary and was self-serving to demonstrate her power over parents. She continued her speech by flippantly commanding, quote, one of the parents must move out. I don't care which one, you decide. Toss a coin if you have to. And if you can't decide, call me and I'll decide, unquote. A judge that you placed on the bench to serve the people of Williamson County should have the competence to know that she had no jurisdiction on real estate matter. Judge Guffey should have had the competence to allow due process. Quote, this matter came to be heard on the 14th day of March 2016 before the Honorable Sharon E. Guffey, Judge of Juvenile Court of Williamson County, Tennessee, unquote. Fact is, there was no hearing, and the matter was never heard. The order continues, quote, Upon proof introduced in the entire record, the court finds that mothers should vacate family residence immediately, period, unquote. Judge Guffey knowingly falsified this order and signed it. Illegally and without any consideration of the consequences of her order, she made mother and child homeless. Sharon Guffey makes her own rules, indicated in her local rules of court. I filed a proper request to obtain a copy of my hearing from the court's audio-video recording of my case. Sharon Guffey denied it twice without explanation.
Natasha, 15 seconds. Please.
The only way I was able to finally obtain a copy was through the approval of another judge that replaced Judge Guffey's following her recusal. After viewing the video, it was clear why Judge Guffey didn't want anyone to see it. She gives opposing counsel advice, suggesting to him that he should file against me. I'm not surprised by her actions, since she was just giving her advice to her longtime buddy, her former co-worker, to the man who attended her swearing-in ceremony, her personal and familiar friend, Dana McClendon III. Judge Guffey should have disclosed her personal and close relationship with Mr. McClendon prior to my hearing. I have video, audio, and documented evidence of my allegations. You are welcome to review it online at www.judgesharonguffey.com. If Williamson County, Tennessee wishes to have a reputation of providing its citizens with justice, a safe family environment, and a juvenile court which is more interested in rehabilitation than incarceration of our youth, then I urge you to remove Judge Sharon Guffey from the bench. My story is only one of many that occurred at separate times with separate lawyers in separate circumstances. If you investigate all the stories, you would undoubtedly find that there's a consistent pattern, and that pattern shows her consistent ill behaviors. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Tom Nave.
My name is Tom Nave, and thank you for hearing me out. I've been a long-time resident
state
here.
your address for the
Oh,
record,
6171 Christmas Drive, Nolensville, Tennessee. I've been a long-time resident of Williamson County for most of my life. Was born and raised in Oak Hill. I've been a developer, businessman. I now work for the TDOT, the Commissioner, John Shore. And I'm here with kind of a different circumstances than what these other people are here. First of all, I'm here kind of represent my daughter who's under the weather tonight. And what took place affected me personally and the entire family. My daughter, her two sons had come from a visit, and they told her some things. So my daughter reported these things to DCS under the recommendation of a counselor, and then myself. Look, you got to report these things. So she called up DCS and reported an incident that had taken place. DCS, in turn, called her in for an interview, and then subsequently they, just for really no reason at all, said that she couldn't, be with her children, that there was an investigation that was going on. And so on a Thursday, they allowed me to take the children, and I went home. DCS and the foster care people followed me home. I went through the requirements, all the paperwork, the federal check to become a foster kinship parent as their grandfather. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we took the boys to the lake. Monday, we took them to a doctor, to the county health clinic, which was a requirement. Monday night, the police and DCS show up at my house and wanted to take the kids. I mean, no clue what's going on. Why? And I said, let me call DCS. This was at 8:30 at night. My daughter and my wife was inside the DCS building. They'd called them over there. And basically locked them up, sent the sheriff office, 2 officers in DCS, to my house to take the children. I called DCS to the main director up there at 8:30, who was still there with my wife, and daughter, and asked her why, and she said she did not have to. No, I asked her if she had a court order. She said, no, I do not have to have a court order. There is, I can do what I want to with these children. And I'm scared.
Tom,
I'm scared to death.
15 seconds.
Oh, shoot. Okay, anyway, what ended up happening, they took the kids, and I have 4 major complaints. First of all, the complaints made against my daughter, there was no complaints, okay, first of all. No cause for my daughter. The complaint was that my daughter would not sign a piece of paper saying that she would give the kids, to turn the kids over to the state with no cause. She was just going to give them. My daughter refused that. They said that by her refusing to give them to the state, she was neglecting the kids. They took the kids at that point in time, and that's when they gave them to me. Then that Monday, they took the kids. They came with police officers, DCS, and then what really made it mad, when there was a hearing on Tuesday, DCS attorney told the judge that if they were to continue with me as the foster kinship parent and not put them in a foster home, that at that point in time, they would lose money. This is the attorney telling Judge Guffey this. And Judge Guffey agreed with this attorney that the money, so they used the money, they brought the money into it, the more money they would get by not giving to me. The number one rule of DCS is to put a child with kinship with their grandparents, aunts, uncle. DCS, after they took them from me, refused, said there's no way that we will entertain anybody, no matter whether it's the spouses, relatives, the husband, or, anybody. Why? Nobody. They're our kids, and we're going to take them, and we're going to do. And they took them all summer long.
Time's up.
I have a ton more to say.
Next, we have Beverly Van Benison.
I get extra time if you can't say. That's Beverly Van Benthuizen.
Okay.
It's at 3022 Sakari Circle in Spring Hill.
All right, thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Beverly Van Benthuizen, and I'm the mother of 2 beautiful children that both have special needs. My son is 11 years old and has autism. My daughter is 5 and has apraxia, which means she cannot talk. The first time we were in Judge Guffey's court, I was awarded custody of the children. Less than 2 months later, with no warning, no trial, no hearing, 2 policemen and 2 caseworkers showed up at my door, and the caseworker, Brittany Benefield, waved a piece of paper saying the judge signed it. No reason why the kids were being taken was ever given. Then my children were immediately thrown into foster care that day, which was already set up for them. This was a planned attack. Since that day, I have had many rights taken away from me in Judge Guffey's court. My First Amendment rights, my Fourth Amendment rights, my parental rights, my visitation rights, my HIPAA rights, and my kids' disability rights have been grossly violated in this court. I have officially reported Judge Guffey and others in her court to the Office of Civil Rights. I am currently in the process of retaining a civil rights attorney to pursue this further. That doesn't even begin to mention the criminal charges. In Judge Guffey's court, there's a rampant and destructive wave of perjury, fraud, bias, and falsification of records. I currently have this under investigation, and charges will be filed soon. That does not even begin to mention the bailiffs. Yes, I said bailiffs, who rotate in and out of the courtrooms every 30 minutes. In doing this, they talk openly about these cases and open about these cases that they are hearing and their ignorant opinions to the mix. While witnesses are sitting there waiting to testify, they joke around about who's guilty and who's not. This is called prejudicing a witness. Influencing a witness in a just court should be a mistrial. This was actually documented in my case by my witness on the stand who testified at Judge Guffey, what the bailiffs were doing out in the hall. Judge Guffey wrote something down on her notepad, but nothing was done. Since then, I have been in the courtroom 2 other times, and apparently nothing is going to be done because the bailiffs were still openly talking about all the cases. If Judge Guffey cannot handle the employees in her court, then maybe she should be replaced. I still can't understand why my children were removed from their home. It was definitely not for their benefit. There's nothing in Child Protective Services is there to protect my kids. My kids never knew abuse or mental torture until they entered the system. I had no charges against me, and I still do not. And the house has been deemed safe by the system. But yet they ripped these 2 special needs kids away from a safe and loving environment of their mother. But if they were not put into the system, the caseworkers couldn't get their bonuses. The system is selfish. It's all about the money, not the kids. It is a pay-to-play system, and I also have that under investigation. Not one bit of effort has been exerted to unify my family. Instead, I have been threatened, and so has my son. I have been told your bond with your son is too strong and needs to be broken. Then I said, like hell. Then that person moved closer to me and said, look, if you don't do everything that the DCS tells you to do, you will never see your kids again. Who would say something like this to a mother? But that person didn't realize that the person that's standing next to me was not DCS, but my witness that heard the whole threat. The same person later threatened my son. He wanted to put my son in a mental institution because he couldn't handle my son's meltdowns. When confronted, this person denied everything, but I trust my son. 1, because if you know autistic kids, it's very hard for them to lie. And 2, he threatened an adult, me, so why would he not threaten a child? This system is grossly broken. My kids have enough to deal with having their special needs, but when a heartless system can rip kids like this out of their home and not care about the trauma it causes, then this system needs to be revised or better yet replaced. Also, I would like to mention that I have requested copies of my transcripts multiple times and have not received them. I tried multiple times to record sessions and have been heavily reprimanded. I have a right to my transcripts. I feel that this court withholds them so their corruption can be contained. Again, I am not an isolated incident. What Judge Guffey's court does not understand is that I'm an American citizen born and raised. And in America, we have the Constitution to protect our rights. Her courtroom is lawless and resembles the witch trials of the 1800s, where they can make up whatever they want about you, whether it's true or not, and convict you for it. This is not Salem. So, commissioners, I ask you, as the rulers of this county, how do you want your county to be seen? This is the 17th wealthiest county in the country. Do you want this to be the next Salem of the United States?
Beverly, 15 seconds.
My kids were my full-time job, but since Judge Guffey took them away, exposing the corruption of the system is my new job. The day they came to the door and turned my life upside down is the day an advocate was born. And looking at the other parents here tonight, I can see the same is true with them. All I can say is we are not isolated incidences. And the ones here tonight are just the tip of the iceberg. But I can tell you that we, the people, are going to loudly and fiercely exercise our First Amendment rights to shine light on this devastating corruption for the love of our kids. I'd like to thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Roy Matlock.
All right. As we know, right now, judges can be corrupt. There's a lot of it going on. If you watch Nashville right now. Yes.
Roy, if you'll state your address.
It's 111 Ackland Park Drive. I'm in Nashville now.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. You know, we know that judges can be corrupt. I mean, we're watching Nashville right now. Casey Moreland steals money from the drug court. He steals money. You know, he trades sex for sentencing and things like that. So it's not hard to really put in perspective that it's possible that judges are corrupt. In the case with this lady, Guffey, I got a good taste of it. I lived in Brentwood at the time, and my boys got into the juvenile system. I have triplet, 2 boys and a girl. So the boys got in the system, and they got removed from Brentwood High School. And once that happened, I got my first taste when I walked into the courtroom, and I couldn't speak about anything. And she starts dictating everything that's going to happen. Doesn't talk to me at all about, you know, what might be a good solution to helping the kids. Well, as it began, it started like that. And then my ex-wife and I, we had an issue about the way we thought the boys should be handled. And we go to court trying to settle that, and the next thing you know, we walk out of court and they're in DCS custody. Phil Plant is in the back in the judge's chambers. He comes walking out of the judge's chambers, tells me that he's going to mediate all this between DCS and all this kind of stuff. Well, I find out later that Phil Plant's not even licensed, but he's in the back of the courtroom with the judge. So it starts out like that. Then from there, my boys get moved from school to school because now they are no longer with us. And then they end up in Greenville in a boys' home. All right. The Greenville boys' home, very clearly to me, was so many seats you got to fill, so let's send them away. This is kids that had an alcohol on campus at Brentwood Brentwood High School inside of their car, and this is how this thing began. Before I know it, I'm spending $100,000 in legal fees trying to get my kids out of this. I went through 3 or 4 attorneys here in Franklin because every time I told them I wanted to go after this judge, they quit. All right, and I've got names of the different attorneys. So finally, I met Connie Regula, and we continued on with it. And I finally got him out of this. I talked to my son. He's here. And I told him today, I said, "You want to come up and talk?" He says, "Dad, I can't talk." He said, "It's just going to bring back bad memories, but I want to be here because I don't want to be, at least I can be maybe a part of helping somebody into the future." Here's what I look at. It needs to be an investigation on this judge, not just on what she's done. She makes decisions. She could have easily just said, "Go with the dad." There's no reason for her not to have done that. But instead, she stuck him into all this kind of stuff. There needs to be an investigation. She's getting paid off, is what I believe. If I were betting, she's getting paid off by the halfway houses. She's getting paid off by the counselors. She's getting paid off by the drug. She's getting money because no one would operate the way she operates unless there was some reason to do it. Because if the goal is in juvenile court is to rehabilitate and not punish, she's not doing that. What she's doing is she's going in there and pushing stuff that made no sense. This is 2 kids that got ripped out. I've been in Nashville and Brentwood my whole life. There was nothing at all that would have been a reason. They couldn't have just said, "Look, let them go over there," but she refused to do that. So y'all need to remove them. And what I think is going to happen, if you don't remove her, you're going to get civil cases against you, left and right. I didn't come up here with that in mind, but I'm telling you, this whole Williamson County courthouse is going to be what's going on in Nashville right now. It's going to be one big problem, and that lady needs to go. So that's all I have to say on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Elizabeth Harris.
Would you mind if Denise Andrews, she's the last one on the list because she was the parents of the same
Oh,
children. If you-
Okay.
And then Elizabeth Harris. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Denise Andrews. I'm at 2104 Old Clarksville Pike, Ashland City. I'm the ex-wife of Roy, who just spoke, and I just wanted to talk about the decision that Judge Guffey made to put our sons in DCS custody and what impact that has had on our whole family for years on end. We did have a disagreement. There had been the boys had gotten in a little trouble, and we had some disagreement about kind of what decisions should be made. So we came before Judge Guffey with, the understanding that she had their best interest at heart, and, I believed that at the time until I walked out of there, and, in a few minutes period, they got put in DCS custody. And it wasn't a matter of, you all don't agree, let's go to a mediator, let's, do do other avenues. It was immediately take them out of the homes, either home where they hadn't had any, both parents were good parents. And that was kind of the first, first wave. And from there, through being taken out of schools, disheveled, and, being in Greenville, where, my son will not hardly talk about it. But there was definitely some, physical and verbal abuse that went on there, and we tried to let that be known. But nothing changed. He still had to stay there and wait it out. I think the words were the same as one of the other ladies that spoke, where Judge Guffey said, if you don't know how to parent together, then I'll make the decisions for you, and they will go to DCS. I just feel like rather than offering a solution, that is undermining the power of the parents. And, I know that people have conflicts and disagreements, but that's what mediators and other people are there for. I don't think the system is designed to send, DCS has a place, obviously, but I don't think it's designed to do what is happening in the courtroom now. It's not effective. It didn't work for my sons. It caused them a lot of trauma. And to the point where when this all started transpiring, your family sort of gets a name. And we did. And to the point where, Brentwood police would drive by our house numerous times a day for no reason at all. Drive by, stop, pause, park. And it was to the point that I ended up moving out of Brentwood because I just couldn't take Williamson County anymore.
Denise, 15 seconds.
Okay. And so I just feel like that there have got to be other options where these kids that get in a little bit of trouble have a way to not dig themselves in a hole, and where they can actually get some help and guidance. And I just don't, I think Judge Guffey really undermined, all the parents here today. I know she did in our family. So thank you.
All right, next we have Elizabeth Harris.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Harris, 204 Corey Drive. My name is Elizabeth Harris. In the Williamson County Juvenile Court System, I am also known as the mother of J.H., the plaintiff in a pending civil rights lawsuit. I am here today not to talk about the civil rights lawsuit pending against Williamson County, but about the devastating effect of the juvenile court system and the integral role played by Judge Sharon Guffey. It is my belief and opinion that my son is a victim of assault directly related to the mismanagement of the Williamson County Juvenile Court System by Judge Guffey. In 2013, my son was suffering from an autoimmune disorder that manifested in a variety of neuropsychiatric symptoms. There is no dispute that his behavior was impulsive, disorderly, and defiant, but he was not a criminal. Over the prior 2 years, I had sought desperately as a parent to find the source of his episodic aberrant behavior. I sought medical and mental health relief, but continued to struggle with a real answer. Finally, I believed that as a responsible parent, I should engage the juvenile court system. I was told that juvenile court was rehabilitative, and I believed that they would be able to engage resources that were otherwise unavailable to my family. This was the biggest mistake of my life. My son's experience in the detention center was abusive, and the next 6 months of our lives would be a living hell. Instead of facilitating my attempts to admit my son into a brain rehabilitation center in Illinois, Judge Guffey put a tether on me, ordering that I had to get him admitted into the facility on that very day she released him, or I would go to jail. An impossible task, since the facility in Carbondale was 3 hours away. Nevertheless, I tried. If I did not make an attempt to get medical treatment, I felt that I was sentencing my son to solitary confinement, because this had been Judge Guffey's remedy of choice. By October 2013, my son had already spent 8 days there in the Williamson County Detention Center in solitary. Over the prior 3 months, I had seen him deteriorate even more, and yet I was unable to get him admitted to the medical facility. When I told my son that he had to be returned to detention, he believed that he would again be incarcerated in solitary confinement. I could see the fear in his face and hear the terror in his voice, and he's begged me not to take him back. So I kept him away while I continually worked on admission. On November 14th, Judge Guffey called me and screamed at me that I had to immediately return my son to jail, even after I tried to explain that we were still working on the admission. The following day, I returned my 14-year-old son to the Williamson County Juvenile Detention Center. I had no idea how bad it would get. Within 6 days, Judge Guffey managed to have me arrested, which was later dismissed, and then she restricted my contact with my medically fragile child to 30 minutes a week. Also, since my son had been in homebound through the Board of Education, he was now cut off from all schooling. My son was then accused of assaulting and threatening other boys in the detention center. Instead of giving him a hearing, they isolated him in a concrete cell that, as he described, was not larger than our bathroom. He has since described this experience as the abject loneliness as the darkest time in his life. Much of what occurred in juvenile detention I am forbidden to tell you because Judge Guffey and her staff shut down all contact with my son, left him in solitary confinement, and did not get him mental health treatment or trauma intervention. Judge Guffey's efforts to undermine me did not stop. She denied me requests to release him for his follow-up appointment with his neurologist. Before my son was released from detention, the court recommended that he be placed in Hermitage Hall, a facility for sex offenders. And they filed a petition against me claiming I was guilty of medical neglect. When I refused to agree with the allegations in the petition, they threatened to make the charges against me worse. And they did. When I brought my son's psychiatrist to court on January the 6th to again try to explain his complex medical issue, they served me with a petition accusing me of Munchausen's by proxy, a mental health disorder of parents who manufacture diagnoses of their children. And Judge Guffey refused to allow the psychiatrist to testify. The GAL convinced Judge Guffey on January 6th that I should be restrained from talking to any of my son's medical providers and added the proviso that I could not say a bad word about the GAL without her permission. My son was in a living nightmare. He was trying to recover from a neurological disorder, an assault that had taken place in the detention center while he was there, and losing his mother, the one who had provided his care. What has been the damage to my son? In May of 2015, you may recall that a young man sped through downtown Franklin and crashed into a storefront. That was him. My son had left the house one night and was triggered at the sight of the police when this occurred. I am lucky he is alive. As I said,
15 seconds.
As I said at the beginning, I blame Judge Guffey and her mismanagement of the detention center. Had Judge Guffey allowed me the proper time to admit my son for medical treatment, the perpetrator would not have had the opportunity to assault him. Had Judge Guffey properly trained her staff in the management of the facility, my son would not have been placed in solitary confinement. Had Judge Guffey disclosed the personal communication she had with the GAL, my attorney would have been able to assault her pleadings before they caused damage. I believe as commissioners, you have an obligation to this community and the families that reside here to ensure the fair treatment of juveniles and their families in times of crisis. I am asking that the commission vote to remove Judge Guffey from the payroll of this county and find a judge who will make this a better place to live.
Next, we have Alison Wolf.
Hello, my name is Alison Wolf, 4047 Ostella Road. It's with a broken heart I come to you to tell you about the destruction of children and families occurring in the Williamson County Juvenile Court of Sharon Guffey. Imagine getting the phone call to inform you that your beautiful 18-year-old son has just been arrested and charged with aggravated armed robbery. I got that call last week. And knowing it was a result of our abusive and broken juvenile court denying my right to parent and get him help years ago. My family was not perfect, but I would say we were quite blessed. We had a beautiful home in Cottonwood. I was running a busy, successful business in downtown Franklin. My husband worked at the medical center, and my two boys were active and busy. But most important, we had each other and we had a loving home. When my oldest son, Kirk, reached 14, he did what many teenagers do. He was defiant, he pushed boundaries, he was disrespectful, he dabbled with marijuana and alcohol, but he was not a criminal. He was also recovering from a series of extremely painful surgeries and illnesses as the result of 2 rare congenital diseases. One procedure left him confined to a wheelchair for an entire summer. Over the next year after this, I knew we needed to take a stronger position on his behavior, and after an especially nasty argument between Kirk and his loving father, and on the advice of local law enforcement, my husband and I filed an unruly petition. Worst mistake of our life. Franklin police took Kirk to juvenile, and we were told to come to court the next morning. We believed that this approach would end with Kirk getting some tough love and with juvenile court releasing him to us the next day. We hoped that a taste of dealing with the court would be enough to put him back on track. When we appeared in front of Judge Guffey the next morning, Kirk told her that he did not want to come home. So she held him for nearly 2 weeks and gave him a guardian ad litem, Michelle Lipford. During this stay, Kirk started up with a story of how he was somehow abused and neglected and afraid for his life to go home. Afraid to go home to a house where there were rules. There was never an allegation of abuse, that my husband and I were abusive or had ever hurt our son. Lipford told him that he had a choice, that if he didn't like our rules and he didn't want to live at home, that he had a choice to go into custody, and he could age out there and they could get him services. Instead of providing a forum where we could be heard as parents in the situation or speaking to a single person, doctor, psychologist, family member, neighbor that knew our family, Judge Guffey told him, fine, you don't want to go home, I'll put you in foster care, and off Kirk went. At a later hearing, we begged her to let us put him in an inpatient program for behavioral issues and substance abuse in Huntsville that dealt with dual diagnosis children that had serious medical issues as well. We had already arranged for his bed and transportation from that hearing and the $50,000 a month bill that we were happy to pay for him instead of having him stay in foster care, which we didn't understand why he was there anyway. We even provided Judge Guffey with a psychological evaluation that clearly showed our child was in trouble. In fact, she was holding it in her right hand, I'll never forget it, when she told us that this desire to get our son help at our own expense was overkill. That's what Sharon Guffey said to my face, a panicked mother trying to get her wayward boy treatment. Overkill. Lady, you are over the top, wanting to put him in an inpatient facility. Let me share with you, let's see, my husband and I were ordered to pay $1,200 a month to the state, and we were provided only limited contact with Kirk. Let me share with you what our $1,200 a month got Kirk. Kirk was placed in a foster home in a trailer park in Laverne, where there were at least 3 other teenage boys and 2 unemployed foster parents. I do not know all that happened to him there, but I know he was sexually assaulted and beaten so badly he needed ER treatment, a full scan of his skull and every piece of his already fragile spine. He committed a robbery with his foster peers. He had sex for the first time. He became a heavy smoker and a daily drug user in this environment. It took us almost a year, $40,000 in attorney's fees, and the wisdom of another court to pull Kirk out of foster care and send him home, quote, to his good parents. It was too late. It cost my family everything. Kirk was never able to readjust, having lived in that environment. He was angry and volatile, and there was a sense that no rules or expectations applied to him. He became...
Alice, 15 seconds.
Yes, sir. He became afraid of no consequences. Just before turning 18, Kirk dropped out of high school, 6 months shy of graduation, and started using drugs again. He started hanging out in bad parts of town where he now felt most at home. The devastation started by Judge Guffey was complete. I lost my family. My husband and I divorced. I closed my business. I left the county. My little boy lost his intact family, his only sibling. Here are some photos of my son, who is bright and brave and funny, honor student, saxophonist, speaks French. He is now likely going to spend the next 15 years in prison. He's right over here at your jail. As leaders in this community, I ask you to hold your public servants accountable.
Judge Guffey operates a secret court with unchecked abuse of power. Sharon Guffey denied us the constitutional right to parent Kirk and to put him in a world-class treatment facility. She chose to put him in the ghetto, where he learned horrible things while we paid for it as his parents. You have the responsibility to stop these abuses. This is the kind of system that creates angry young men, school shooters. You must use your control over the purse strings of this community to stop Sharon Guffey's destruction of our youth and our entire families. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Krista Jamison.
Krista Jamison, 1190 Cross Creek Drive. Good evening. I am Krista Jamison, and I serve as the current president of the Cross Creek Homeowners Association. Our HOA has been cognizant of the street closures of Cross Creek Drive and Biltmore Court since petitioning the Williamson County Highway Department in 1987 to permanently close these two cul-de-sacs. Our board asked the Williamson County Highway Commission in August of 1987 to make Cross Creek Drive and Biltmore Court permanent cul-de-sacs. The Highway Commission unanimously voted to make the change at their August 5th, 1987 meeting. On August 18th, 1987, a letter was received by the Cross Creek HOA from Morton Stein, county planner at the time, that at its meeting on August 13th, 1987, the Williamson County Regional Planning Commission voted to permanently close Cross Creek Drive and Biltmore Court. Tonight, our residents come before you to request the intent of the decisions made in 1987 by both the Highway Commission and the Planning Commission of Williamson County be finalized, with the resolution being presented by our County Commission representatives, Steve Smith and Dana Osbrooks. We would respectfully ask that the Board of Commissioners tonight agree to the request by the Highway Commission to relinquish its interest in the unpaved right-of-way adjacent to Cross Creek Drive and Biltmore Court, to revert back to owners with a fee simple interest in the property, and to confirm the previous actions of the Planning Commission and the Highway Commission to permanently close these cul-de-sacs. On behalf of the Cross Creek HOA members, we would like to thank the county officials that have stood with our neighborhood over the last several years to keep the neighborhood integrity as it was planned. This unpaved area has been maintained and mowed by the adjoining homeowners for over 32 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, this concludes citizens' communication. So we will move on. Next, we have communications and messages. Have a couple of late file resolutions, 3/1838 and 3/1839. They're in your packet. If there's no objection, we'll hear those as they are. I see none, so we will hear 38 and 39 in order in the packet. Also, there's been a request to move Resolution 3/1837 up to the top of the agenda. If there's no objections, we'll do that. So I see none, so we will do that. I want to point out we have a first timer up here, so be nice to him. You know, it just he's widening his circle, so we appreciate him. Now we'll ask him to put on another hat. So Mayor Rogers Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you all will allow me to speak from here rather than to get up, and I'll call upon Nina to come up to the front and kind of give us a snapshot of the area that we've got here.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. I do have one on Resolution 3/1815. There was a typo in the revenue section. If I could just point that out to you now. In the revenues, the revenue line item is starting with 101, and it needs to start with the numbers 171. Also wanted to report to you that the local option sales tax referendum was passed, and the collections of those local option sales tax will start April 1st. The State of Tennessee Department of Revenue will notify businesses and work with them on their systems and how to get all that set up. The school resolutions that you have before you tonight, those were part of the models of our projections that included the passage of the local option sales tax. So when you get to those resolutions, just be aware that they were part of our model that included the sales tax to be able to pay for those. Also this evening, wanted to report to you with the passage of the sales tax. One of our agreements with the city of Fairview, they were already at the maximum of the local option sales tax of 2.75. Their memorandum of understanding with the county was that they would forego their school's adequate facilities tax. And they did send us a check of $300,000 for their portion that would go towards the sales tax. Your budget report for the month of January. There's nothing really unusual to report to you in this month. One thing to point out and to remind you, starting this time of year, under the drug control fund, while it is a small amount, the negative at the top under revenue means we've collected above our projections. So those brackets are not a bad thing. Also this month, our report from the Cool Springs Conference Center, we did have a payment of $32,369 to the conference center. We are still net good to the year of a little over $25,000. For the collections of privilege tax, the month of January, we collected a little over $1.3 million. On the education impact fee, fiscal year to date, we've collected $11.1 million. I think that's all the reports that I have.
All right.
If anyone has any questions.
Any questions for Nina? I see none. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I could ask our new animal director to come forward. She is sitting in the back. She's got a resolution tonight. I know many of you have seen her in and about, but Andrea Johnson. Andrea lives in our community here, and I guess it was about a week ago, 10 days ago, she actually started taking over our animal control. We, as many of you know, we had a advertised position opened with the movement of Laura Chevalier that went to work for the National Humane Society. We had applicants from the Midwest, the West, and the Southern part, and we were able to finally secure Mrs. Johnson to our establishment. I'm pleased to announce she has been working 7 days a week since she's been there. Andrew, anything you want to say?
I was actually in the middle of emailing back one of our volunteers when you called my name, so I just came from the volunteer meeting, and I think I'm checking off all my boxes. I'm glad to be here. Thanks, y'all.
Well,
thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, the only other comment I've got, we're not going to make you stand there the whole time.
Are we going to talk about my water bill, or is that later?
Oh, you'll get your opportunity later. Thank you, Andrea. So, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, Jeff Whidbey has asked to have a few minutes to outline what they're doing with the kiosk, him and Mrs. Anderson.
okay.
Good evening. I just kind of wanted to update everybody on the clerk's office and their license plate tag renewal kiosks that we have throughout the various rec centers in the county. We, last week, just had our 5th one installed. We have them at the rec centers in Longview, Nolensville, Fairview, the newest one in Franklin, and then also in Brentwood. First step, go get your emissions tests like always. The information is electronically shared with our system. You take in your registration or the reminder notice that you get in the mail, scan it, everything should feed through. You swipe your card and you'll get your registration and sticker just like you came in our office. So there's no waiting. I saw Commissioner Lathers had used it in Nolensville. Hopefully it was a good experience for her. It's just one thing that we're trying to do to help as the county is growing and more people come in. It takes a little bit of strain off of the office of the people that come in for other things. And the thing that is really good about the kiosk, the county clerk's office receives $2 fees that are earmarked for technology. So the kiosks are actually paid for with those fees from the state. The state provides the paper that we use for them, same as they do in our office. And then the ribbons that actually print the decal and all the information on your registration, we pay for with the fees that are collected that are earmarked for technology. So basically the only fee that the county incurs is around a $2,500 fee per year for maintenance of the machines. So broken down, that's really not a lot for the 5 different areas. We have great use. Fairview, we've had, I know, close to around about 2,000 renewals that have been done out there. So really we're just trying to spread the word because as more people know about it, they use it and they like it, and we're just trying to spread the word. And also, as always, I'd like to thank Gordon Hampton and the Parks and Rec. It takes teamwork from the government to work together, and they have been great partners with us, and definitely would like to thank them and encourage everyone to use it. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, my final request is for Gordon Hampton and Tracy Hamby, who's administrator for our seniors in therapeutics, to just give us a brief state of the program.
Jeff, Ms. Anderson, thank you for those kind words, and we are glad to help. It's also nice to get all those people in our rec centers because in some cases that might be the first time some of them have been in. So 2,000 people in Fairview, we'll see how many of them bypass. Anyway, thank you for just a minute. I just want to introduce Tracy Hamby to you. Tracy is, she's going to tell you a little bit about herself, but Tracy is involved in 2 programs that are very important to Williamson County Parks and Recreation. Those are the programs that involve seniors and those families that have special needs. So I'm going to let her come up here and kind of bring you up to speed on some developments that we've had and success since we've opened the Enrichment Center a year ago. Also, I'd like for you to take a look at the information that I passed out to you. There are some summer camp guides on there in our monthly newsletter. If more people will get their children involved in these types of programs, we might have less people going into the juvenile court system. I'm sorry.
You're good. You're good. Good evening. Like Gordon said, my name is Tracy Hamby. I'm the Senior Therapeutics Administrator for Williamson County Parks and Rec. I'm a 2001 graduate from the University of Tennessee, go Vols. My background's in recreation and tourism management with a concentration in therapeutic recreation. I have worked for the county since straight out of college, so since 2001, and I've been in my current role since May of 2011. So tonight I just wanted to share a brief overview of the things that we have going on with our seniors and our therapeutic populations. So for those of you that don't know, our therapeutics programs are geared towards youth and adolescents and young adults, all with some sort of intellectual disability. And then for our senior program, that's geared towards our adults that are 55 and over. So on the therapeutic side of things, we'll start with that first. Right now, we're busy planning and preparing for our biggest program of the year. That's Camp Will. We are going into our 21st summer since it's come underneath the Williamson County Parks and Rec umbrella. To give you just a taste for how we've seen incredible growth over the past 21 years. When we first took over the program in 1997, we had 34 campers with 17 staff. Fast forward to last summer in 2017, we registered 131 campers and had 70 staff. Our registration was full within a day. With that, back in 2016, we branched out from having just one location for Camp Will to two, and we get this from the incredible support that we do receive through Williamson County Schools. As far as my staff, we have such a diverse background. I've got staff that are majoring in special education, or maybe they're majoring in occupational therapy, physical therapy. And then I do have staff that are already working professionals in our community. Maybe they're special education teachers or teachers' assistants. My youngest staff was a upcoming senior in high school, and my oldest was in his 70s. So we're a very eclectic and diverse bunch. As far as our activities, our campers enjoy everything from going to swim at one of our rec centers, in-house special events, which might include a visit from the Williamson County Sheriff's Office or possibly the Nashville Zoo. And then from there, summer camp activities, sports, arts and crafts, making art projects, all kinds of fun things that any typical or kid with disability would like to enjoy over the summer. Outside of camp, we do have a variety of ongoing programs that we offer throughout the year, everything from Thursday night events at our Franklin Rec Center, potluck luncheons, playing different games, arts nights, you name it, we do it. Other than that, we also offer general rec classes for this population, craft classes, cooking classes. We have fitness classes. We offer community outings, going bowling to Franklin Lanes or going shopping at Cool Springs Mall. And then also throughout the school year, we offer a respite and parents' night out program for our families as well. In 2017 alone, we offered over 180 programs for this population. And then if you fast forward to the senior side of things, we're one extreme to the other, we offer everything for adults 55 and older. We have potluck lunches. We have lunch and learns that are sponsored by Williamson Medical Center. Our seniors enjoy going on a variety of outings and day trips, everything from lunch bunch groups to the local dive to going to the U.S. Space and Rocket Center in Alabama. We go all over. We offer a variety of art and hobby classes, open art studios. We have a hobby group called the Dulcimer Dandies that meets a couple times a month. We have a lot to offer our active seniors as well. Hiking trips to Montgomery Bell or to Timberland Park. Open play times at Academy Park that ranges from everything from badminton to pickleball. And pickleball, by the way, is huge. And then we offer a variety of special events, a resource fair every year. Right now, we're working with the Council on Aging to take over the Discover Franklin program. That's coming up in April. And then by far, the hugest growth that we've seen for our seniors has been with just fitness in general. In 2011, we offered just 3 senior classes at our Franklin Rec Center. Right now, currently, we have 61 classes on the schedule at 6 different locations, and that doesn't include aqua fitness. So senior fitness is definitely booming. And then with the Williamson County Enrichment Center, we have been open 1 full calendar year now. In our first full month, March of 2017, we saw 3,116 patrons come into our doorways. This past month, we had 9,173 seniors coming into our doors. That's a growth of 194% in just 11 months, and our daily usage has increased by 155%. We had over 200 programs that we offered this past year for our seniors 55 plus. So we have a lot of fun and do offer a variety of things for everybody. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, on your desk of all the commissioners, thank you, Tracy, very much, unless you have a question. Any questions to Gordon or anything? On your desk, you have a letter from Lawrenceburg. The mayor has signed it along with their aldermen or commissioners. I'm not sure exactly what they call themselves. Recently, we had a very untimely event down in the Lawrenceburg community. This was the letter that the mayor and his people have signed and sent up to us. I'd like to report the following agencies within Williamson County under State Mutual Aid Program. Brentwood sent an engine with 3 people. Fairview sent an engine with 3 people. Williamson County Rescue Squad sent an engine with 3. Williamson County Rescue sent a tanker with 2 people. Paytonsville engine with 7. College Grove tanker with 2. Nolensville sent 1 person, and the EMA was 2 people and then 1. So 3 people total, in Rutherford County sent over 3. So our community stepped up to the needs of this particular community during this difficult time, and that's the purpose of that letter. I know most of you have probably heard of the work they've done, but it's a pat on the back to our men and women in our community that continue to step up and help our other cities. That's everything, Mr.
All
Chairman.
right. Thank you, Mayor. Commissioner Herbert, did you need to speak? Your button's pushed. All right, we'll turn you off over here. All right. Next, we have Director of Schools, Dr. Mike Looney.
I think Commissioner in advance of me coming up. I'm not sure. Good evening, Commissioners. It's so good to see you this evening. First and foremost, I want to give you a sports announcement. Brentwood High School just beat MBA's hockey club 3-2. If you're looking for entertainment in Williamson County, every one of our high schools and middle schools is producing and having theater programs right now. It's some of the best low-cost entertainment that you could possibly get, and you could see some of the good work that you've given towards the construction of theaters and improvement of our facilities. So I invite you to attend all of our theater programs across the district. We, as of today, have 39,517 students in pre-K through to 12th grade. We have done our estimates for next year, and we expect a little bit more than 1,200 students to enroll for the upcoming fall. Friday is the last day of the third 9-week grading period, so we're entering the fourth quarter already. Things are going well. We have a number of requests of you tonight. All relating to construction but one. One is a safety request. All of the construction requests that we have made, or all the capital requests we've made, are relating to school enlargement, construction, and advancement are tied specifically and directly to the sales tax referendum that was passed by the citizens of Williamson County. I want to give my gratitude specifically to Sheriff Long and his staff for their great support during this time when school safety is the highest priority that we could give. I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for Dr. Looney? Commissioner Kestner?
Thank you. I apologize. Is this on? You hear me?
Yeah.
This is not for Dr. Looney. I'd just like to ask Councilor Mosley a simple question. I think I know the answer, but I want to get it on the record. Does this commission have an oversight role for our juvenile court system?
If your question is, do you have the power to remove a juvenile judge, the answer is no.
Do we even have an oversight role in the structure of the court system in this county?
You have some funding of administration.
Right, budgetary
No, you do
authority.
not have a general oversight role of the juvenile.
So the oversight role really lies at the state level, does it not, sir?
Absolutely.
I just want that on the record, because those were some gut-wrenching stories. Thank you. Sorry, Mike.
Commissioner Smith?
I'll wait until Dr. Looney is finished.
Okay.
It's not for him.
All right. Any questions for Dr. Looney? I see none. Thank you, Mike. All right. Oh, wait a minute. Okay.
Sorry, Dr. Looney, I'm still not pushing my button.
It's okay, I needed more steps.
I just want to thank you, for the safety. Can y'all hear me? It's never really working, sorry. Thank you for the safety orientation that you had, and I have a high school senior. And my question is, I'm kind of hearing from different teachers with different ideas and things to bring forward, and they're sometimes sharing them with us. What is the best appropriate way for us to share those ideas? Is it through the school board representative, to you directly? A lot of people are really talking about safety ideas that they're hearing about from other places.
Yes, ma'am.
Like film over windows where kids are exposed, where you can see into cafeterias. And there's a cheap film that you can see out and let sun in, but you can't look in on children. Just so how would they?
Thank you for your question, first and foremost. So we, hopefully, of course, communication is always a miracle. We have a communication process in place for our employees to give us feedback. But I welcome your direct call and communication on any issue or any parent's input on safety. As the commission probably very well knows, we have a lot of additional safety measures in place that the public is not aware of. Thanks to, honestly, your leadership and the board's insistence and the partnership that we have specifically with EMA and the Sheriff's Department, I'd be glad to talk to you privately about some of those items that are not for public consumption. We very specifically, strategically do not share the contents of our safety plans because we fervently believe that if we were to share the contents of our safety plans, it would create a risk for our students and our employees. But I will say we are deeply committed and stand in strong partnership with all the appropriate agencies to provide as safe a learning environment and work environment as we possibly can. Yes, ma'am.
Any further questions for Dr. Looney? I see none. Commissioner Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Judge Guffey has asked me if it would be appropriate for her to speak to this commission during this time of reporting by committees, and I would ask the chair to recognize Judge Guffey.
Okay. Judge Guffey?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. I came in late, but I will tell you, first of all, that I am proud to live in a country that has the First Amendment. And I want you to know that I've been in a meeting for the last 2 hours with our foster parents at our enrichment center. And we're trying to recruit more foster parents. And I want you to know how enlightening that meeting was. We have some very dedicated people here in our county that are taking care of our children. And I also want you to know, since we have several resolutions before you tonight, that I am so incredibly proud of my staff and the work that they're doing. And I want you also to know that if you ever have any concerns about what we do in juvenile court or what is being done, that my door is open, and I am happy to talk to each and every one of you at any time, because there are always many sides to the stories that we hear in juvenile court, and they are sad, and they are tragic. And we appreciate all of your consideration for our department.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Ford?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've heard a lot. There are some heartrending stories, but there's a lot of people in this community that are doing good work, and we have one of them that is on our commission. A week ago Saturday night at the Davis House Button Ball, one of our commissioners, Commissioner Mason, was awarded the Ronald L. Davis Award for her work with sexually abused children, and that's the highest award that's given in this county around that. And so I'd like to thank her personally for her work and make sure she gets publicly recognized.
Well, thank you. Thanks for bringing that up. All right. Okay. I see no other questions. Any other committee reports? I see none. Moving on. Next, we have elections and appointments. Emergency Communications District, Board of Directors. We've got term expiring Alan Lovett and Greg Galfano, and nominees Alan Lovett and Greg Galfano. So I'll entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
Mr. Little, Commissioner Herbert, or Hester the second. All in favor of those signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And they are confirmed. Industrial Development Board, 6-year term. Kurt Winstead, in nomination Kurt Winstead. I'll entertain a motion. Commissioner Smith and Commissioner Osbrooks. All in favor of Kurt Winstead signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, he's confirmed. Williamson County Regional Planning Commission, term expiring Sharon Hatcher and Robin Baldry. Nominees Sharon Hatcher and Robin Baldry. I'll entertain a motion.
Move for approval. Second.
Mr. Danner, Commissioner Little the second. Oh, okay. Walters and Little, I'm sorry. All in favor of those nominees signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And they are confirmed. Next, we've got Highway. Judy?
That wasn't Sharon Hatcher's, wasn't that Susan Fisher that was expiring?
instead of Sharon Hatcher? I mean, I know Sharon Hatcher's the new nominee.
I don't know. Joe?
Commission for several years now.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Not a problem.
Sorry.
All right.
Showing my age.
Yeah. Moving on. Got the Highway Commission, term expiring Wayne Davis and Charlie Bennett. Nominations, Wayne Davis and David Coleman. Commissioner Dwight Jones and Commissioner Herbert's a second. All in favor of those signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Oh, okay. Hey, David, would you like to come up and say a few words? It'll bring back old memories. Yeah.
That's kind of like old times.
That's right.
With me, it's always few words, Jack. Thank you so much.
Glad to see you.
Thank you. And I was honored when Mr. Hood called me and asked me, and there's no taking Charlie Bennett's place. I mean, he's been there over 30 years and done such a great job for the highway department, his community, and just want to give accolades to him and thank him, and I'll do the best job I can.
I have no doubt. Thank you, David. Next, under the Zoning Appeals Board, we have Don Crohan, term expiring. Nominee, Don Crohan. Commissioner Dwight Jones and Commissioner Ricky Jones the second. All in favor of Mr. Crohan signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And he is confirmed. Moving on, we don't have any new business. Well, no, we've got the consent agenda.
It's on the board.
It's on the board, and I think the only thing on there is notaries. So in favor of those, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson. Resolution passes. All right, moving on. Let's see, we were moving up Resolution 3/1837. Resolution to relinquish its interest in a portion of the unpaved right-of-way of Cross Creek Drive and Biltmore Court. Commissioner Smith?
Move for approval.
Second. Commissioner Allsbrook, second. Highway Commission, I assume was 5-4. 5-0. All right. Okay. All right. Commissioner Smith, explanation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As Krista Jamison spoke of earlier from the Cross Creek Homeowners Association, possible connection to developments around the Cross Creek and Franklin East neighborhoods, which are county neighborhoods and were not designed for extreme traffic, has been a concern of those homeowners for a number of years, going all the way back to 1987, when they approached the Highway Commission and the County Planning Commission about this issue. The most recent approval by Franklin of a neighborhood in that area has been completed and finalized. The concern remains about possible eventual attempts to connect to these county roads that are in residential areas from high traffic developments. And so to ratify the 1987 action of the Highway Commission and the Planning Commission, and also the unanimous action this past Wednesday of our current Highway Commission, there are unimproved pieces of real estate between the pavement and the adjoining property line that can be abandoned by the county to the adjoining property owners who have been maintaining it anyway all these years. And this is Biltmore Drive and Cross Creek Drive. You see some information attached to this resolution that I'll let Commissioner Allsbrooks comment on.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Allsbrook.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You will see two descriptions as well as two maps that are attached to the resolution on your desk. I'd like to amend resolution number 31837 to include those descriptions and maps that are attached.
Okay. Proper motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Mr. Smith, the second. Kate, you got it loaded? All right. Any questions on the amendment? I see none. If you're in favor of the amending Resolution 31837, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wish to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson. Amendment passes. So now we're back to the main resolution as amended. Any discussion? I see none. You ready to vote? Oh, yeah. All right. You ready to vote? If you're in favor of Resolution 31837 as amended, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson. Resolution passes. Resolution 318-1, resolution amending the 2017-2018 general purpose school budget, $19,720 for a safety and security specialist. Oh, okay.
Take a 5-minute break.
Mr. Jones and Mr. Hester second. Let's take a 5-minute break while these folks get out.
I'm doing pretty good.
Ella? Yeah. Yeah, we do. Oh, yeah, you are. I'll keep you around. Jeff said he's ready. All right. We're back in session. The 318-1, and we've got a motion and a second on the floor. So, let's see, School Board, 11-4, 0 against. Education Committee.
6-4, 0 against.
Budget Committee.
5-4, 0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Dwight Jones.
Yes, this is a specialist that the school system is wanting to hire an additional safety and security specialist for since we've got 47 schools now, more coming online. Just trying to add another specialist to help if somebody's out. We've got somebody at all times.
Okay. Any questions? I see none. If you're in favor of Resolution 318-1, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Oh, he's out. We're voting on the school specialists. So. All right, record the vote, Ms. Anderson. Resolution passes. Resolution 318-2, resolution requesting the Williamson County Board of County Commissioners approval of an intent for fund in the amount of $1,500,000 for the purchase of buses for the 2017-18 school year. Commissioner Hullett, Commissioner Dwight Jones, the second. School Board, 11-4, 0 against. Education Committee.
6-4, 0 against.
Budget Committee.
5-4, 0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Jones.
Yes, we do this every year about this time, just so we can get the buses in time for the new school year. And this is 17 new buses.
All right. Any discussion? I see none. If you're in favor of Resolution 318-2, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson. Resolution passes. Resolution of the Williamson County Board of County Commissioners approval of an intent to fund of $35,625,000 for land for future school and central office sites based on 10-year projection. Commissioner Hullett, Commissioner Dwight Jones, the second. School Board, 11 yes, 0 no. Education Committee.
5-4, 1 against, as amended.
All right. Budget Committee.
No action taken.
All right. Explanation, Commissioner Jones.
Yes, this is a 10-year projection of land that the schools are going to need and a central office site to build a new central office. You want me to offer the amendment the education had now, or?
Yeah, that's the only amendment, yeah.
Education Committee amended it to $10,500,000.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Hester. All right. It's on the board, right? Okay, any discussion on the amendment? Commissioner Hullett?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Looney, could you come up real quick? Before we vote on the amendment and talking about the original resolution and the amendment, can you just remind everyone what we're looking at?
Yes, sir. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to this resolution. The school board, as you know, has submitted a 10-year plan to the county commission identifying the geographic areas in the county which we will need property in based on all of our planning data. Most of those properties are actually needed in the first 6 years of our 10-year plan. The funding that we're requesting is to buy the property now to help shape where development goes rather than reacting to where development will be and do it after the fact. This is consistent with the board's strategic plan and, from my perspective, consistent with the sales tax referendum that was passed.
Follow up, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Follow up. Thank you, sir. Real quick, just so we know, the usual question that we ask is, when would you be asking for the money? And this is the intent. When would you actually need it?
So Mrs. Holman and Nina do a great job of collaborating with each other, and we only request the money when we actually prepare to close on the property. We have not closed on the property for the new elementary school, which is going to open in 19. We have 4 new schools that we expect to open by 2023. And that's important for you to remember. 4 new schools by 2023. That's 3 elementary schools and a middle school. So we need the properties in advance of those schools opening so that we can obviously work with builders and do all the appropriate processes in place. We don't need the money now, but we certainly will need the money at some point in time during this fiscal year.
And will the amendment allow for going for the 4 schools?
It's my belief if the commission sees fit to pass the $10.5 million, that would certainly advance our position to be able to acquire some of the properties that we need in the very near term for the schools that are on the short end of our planning cycle.
Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Lawrence?
Yeah, I just have a question. Maybe, Dr. Lynn, you can help me on this one. It says, so last year we funded 10.5, so that's a separate 10.5.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay, so where, has that been already allocated, or?
That's a great question, Commissioner Lawrence. So the answer is we are doing final, I shouldn't say final, we are doing negotiations now on an elementary school property. In addition to that, we're using some of that money for the sewer expansion at Page Middle and Page High School. So we will use the bulk of that money for those 2 projects.
Okay, so really, this is an additional 10.5. So over the last 2 years, we will have given you roughly $21 million for new property.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You
Yeah,
through?
no, that's it. That
All
answers
right.
my question.
Commissioner Kestner?
10.5 included in your forecasting that we went through this past few months? This 10.5, the new 10.5 is included in your forecast, and we had okay, because it's confusing when we have multiple 10.5s out there, as Commissioner Lawrence's examples. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, would one of the Education Committee members who proposed the amendment to the lower amount care to discuss their thinking on that process?
Commissioner Jones, can you do that?
I was your no vote, so I probably won't be able to explain their position on that one.
Commissioner Hester?
Yes, Commissioner Jones was the no vote. We weren't moving ahead on this resolution with the $35 million. So I proposed the amendment to repeat the amount of money that we had the previous year, just to move this resolution forward so that we could allocate some dollars to Dr. Looney needed for land acquisition.
Follow up, Commissioner Smith?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. So it appeared the committee was not prepared to pass the resolution as originally presented, so it had to be amended
Correct.
in order for something to pass.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Commissioner Danner?
Education Committee or Budget Committee. Can someone explain to me the
So you're asking for the 35,625 for land for future schools, for future school and central office sites? What is that?
So let me clarify. All of the, most of the requests deal specifically with school land sites.
Most.
Most. There is an exception. We would like to acquire property now for a future central office site because, as you probably well know, the central office is over capacity as well, and we don't have a way to serve the 6,700 some odd employees that we have across the district from this location. We're not asking you for construction dollars for that site now, but that would be a multi-purpose site which would include central office operations, perhaps some additional transportation and maintenance services, and perhaps even a preschool EC building. But obviously, before we can begin the planning that process, we need to have land to consider how we could best utilize that.
And then quick follow-up, the sales tax does not cover central office building, though, just schools, correct? Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Mason?
Question is a follow-up to the last question about the central office. Of the 35 million, do you have a rough estimate of how much of that would be applied towards a central office location
Yes,
site?
ma'am. Let me get it. Our planning document was $2,250,000.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's see, who's next? Commissioner Kester, you've already spoken.
Just a clarification with Nina.
Oh, okay.
I do
All
a few
right.
comments if you would allow me, sir.
I'll allow that.
I appreciate that. I'm not totally sure that I want the school system to shape where development happens in the county going forward. So I got to think about that. I mean, I understand, but
yes,
I want to think about that. Secondly, I'd really rather take these properties down one at a time when you know where they are, partly because we may actually get some good sites from developers. You know, oftentimes they're offering us not such a great site, but we might get some good sites that would then cause us to, in retrospect, have said, gee, we shouldn't have bought that, we should have done something else. You know, next, I'd say that a couple of years ago, we were talking about an in-migration of new students or a growth in population of about 2,000 per year, and I'm happy to note that in the last couple of years, it's more like 1,100, 1,200, and I think I heard you say it might be 1,200 next year. So I'm hoping we aren't quite so turbocharged as we go forward, you know, in the next few years. And last, I'll tell you that I promise we won't slow you down. I'd just rather take them one at a time.
Yes, sir.
So, thank you.
All right, let's see, who's next? Commissioner Lawrence, you've already spoken.
Do it. Have I used my quota up, or can I?
Yeah, no. I can come back to you after everybody's spoken.
I just thought of something else I wanted to ask Dr.
Loon. Commissioner Dwight Jones?
And since I was the no vote, I was just going to explain my stance on the no vote. Like Todd said, my position's always been, we'll pay as we go. I don't necessarily know that the $35 million is what we can afford at this time. Everybody in county government's overcrowded. We've got people sitting in closets just like the school system does. So I get that. I understand. We need jails. We need juvenile courts. We need a lot of things. We're not in the land business. I don't necessarily see that as what we need to be in. I don't necessarily believe, and I've talked to several people, that we can shape where development happens just because we buy land to say, hey, now to build houses around this piece of property because we're going to build a school. Maybe you're a lot smarter than I am. Maybe it works. I think developers going to buy where they can buy land and put a house in this county on anything. So that was my position on the no vote. I'll still be a no vote tonight. I will support schools as we need them, but I don't think my biggest problem is the intent to fund. I told you that in education. When you say intent to fund, there is no backing out. You will fund it one way or another. So if you want to fund it that way tonight, y'all can do what you want to do. I don't choose to do that. I'm not going to put my checkbook out there and let somebody write checks on it.
Commissioner Pear?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Lee, I just had a couple of questions. The 3 sites, or I guess 4 sites you mentioned by 2023, where in the process are you with identifying your site of choice for those 4 schools?
So on 2 of the locations, we are in the early stages of property identification, vetting property. On 2, we are unable to engage in serious conversations with property owners because we don't have the authority to purchase.
So you
too
basically
speculative.
got started on 2
Yes,
and
sir.
the other 2, okay. What about the process for identifying the site for a new administrative building?
No,
how
sir,
is
we
that
have
process?
we have not touched that. And to be honest with you, that is our lowest priority, but it is one of our priorities, so.
Okay, one final question. The amended 10.5 million, does that allow you to make an adequate progress to meet that goal by 4 schools by 2023 to get started?
I honestly think the 10.5 would be enough money or close to enough money for us to locate and acquire the appropriate properties for those schools.
For all 4 of them?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Webb?
Mr. Chair, if you don't mind, could I ask Nina to come up, get her on the record to answer Commissioner Kessler's question in the microphone, and also to ask Nina to explain the process. For instance, here's the question, Nina. If this were to fail tonight and the school officials found land, what's the process for us to fund it if we don't pass this tonight?
The process would be just to come back with another intent to fund at that time. And then you could approve it at that point. This total amount was within, the model is in their 5-year plan, their 10-year plan. But they did have the original amount of 10.5 approved, and that is sitting there waiting to be used. So this would add to that, giving them 21 million.
Or less than 500 he had talked about. So what I think, let's make sure we understand. If this was not approved and they came back next month and said, we found another site and it's $10 million, then they would bring back in June, let's say, and say, we found another site and we're ready to buy. And then we would pass the funding mechanism then. To follow up on what I think Commissioner Jones and Kessler said, we would, instead of a lump sum, we would be funding these as they're brought forward.
Right, because I do work with Ms. Holdman. She lets me know when she actually needs the money. So it's my understanding that the money is not needed until the fall. So even if the intent to fund were approved, I wouldn't go out and borrow money until she would say that she needs it. But whatever total amount of the intent to fund that is approved, as Commissioner Jones said, you have approved that total amount. So when they needed the money, that's when they would come to me, and we would have at that point approved it. So I would have to go to market and borrow at that point.
But they do have the 10.5, you've already borrowed the 10.5 that they have now.
Yes.
And so this is a request as amended, another 10.5 or 35, whichever were to pass, so.
Right.
But the third option that we're discussing is that we would still have, if they found land, so we need the money, they would come to you, and then you would bring it before us and say they need this much money for land for a new school.
Right.
And we could do that as part of the process.
Yes, the schools at that point would bring another intent to fund.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Commissioner Little?
Move to defer to our June meeting.
Proper motion. Is there a second? Commissioner Kester? We need to load that on the board. To the June meeting, right?
For the budget meeting. July budget meeting, excuse me, I spoke wrong.
Okay.
The July budget meeting is what I is what I meant.
Still give it a second. He just gave you a thumbs up.
All right, we're good on the second. All right. All right, we've got a motion to defer Resolution 318-3 to the July 2018 meeting. All in favor, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
13 yes, 7 no.
Resolution passes to defer. Resolution 318-4, resolution of the Williamson County Board of County Commissioners, approval of an intent to fund of $15 million for design and construction of a Central East Elementary School. Commissioner Jones, Commissioner Webb, second. School Board, 11 yes, 0 no. Education Committee.
4, 0 against.
Budget Committee.
4-0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Jones.
Yes, this is a startup for a new Central East Elementary School. $15 million to begin design and construction of the facility.
All right. Any discussion? Let's see. Wait just a minute. Bobby, did you want to speak to this? Okay, so we need to. I don't know how to clear the board. All right, Commissioner Lawrence.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is actually the question I thought about in the previous resolution. Dr. Looney, I've asked you, and I've actually talked to Kevin Fortney and some of the school board members about the possibility of using the land that we own around the Ag Center for schools, and I assume this elementary school is going to be somewhere in that area. So I was wondering if you have looked into that or had a chance to look into that to see what the feasibility of that potential site is. It's a very underutilized facility right now, and we already own the land. So it appears to me that it might make a good spot for a school, but I don't know. So
thank you for your question. We actually have examined that property and properties around it. That specific property we feel like would pose a safety risk due to the activities that happen during the school day, where you're bringing people into that area where we have little control over the safety of the campus. So we don't think the Ag Center itself is an appropriate property. However, I will say that we are in conversations with county government about how we might better partner on the utilization of the Ag Center, specifically the agricultural program at Page High School, and how we might get more students involved there. But as it relates to an elementary school, we don't think that's the most appropriate location, although we are vetting several pieces of property in the very close proximity to the Ag Center.
okay.
Commissioner Perry, did you have a question, or was that the last?
I'm just one real quick, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Looney, I just want to make sure I'm understanding this correctly. Do we already control the site for this school?
No, sir, we do not. The $10,500,000 that's been previously approved by the commission, part of that money is going to be used for the acquisition of this site. I will say, as I said in the budget committee meeting, we have very specifically identified 2 potential sites. We are vetting both sites simultaneously. One site is, we have a willing local seller. That site has some challenges as it relates to the topography of the site. The other site is a landowner out of state who I can best describe as perhaps a speculator, and that piece of property is not for sale. I believe that we would have to use our authority under eminent domain if we were to go after that piece of property.
Okay, so this is one of the 4 schools you mentioned by 2023?
Yes, sir, it is.
At what point do you decide to pursue that action?
Well, we are attempting to contact the out-of-town owner of the property to see if we can do something short of that. As the commission might very well know, the school board has the authority to exercise that. We have done that on a few occasions. It's actually how Summit High School site was acquired. So oftentimes, we actually have a willing owner that would prefer their property be condemned, and rather than doing something else for tax write-off benefits, we might be able to arrange something like that. But we're not, it's premature at this point in time. We obviously would use that as, I wouldn't say a last resort option, but a less desirable option from a willing landowner. I will say that large parcels of property are getting harder to acquire. And I think we have to make it a strategic decision at some point in time. Are we willing to use the business strategies that we have access to, or do we want to spend more money on developing properties that are probably not naturally suitable for school sites?
But this is a decision that the WCS board
Yes,
has
sir,
to
that
do
decision.
unilaterally without
Yes,
us
sir,
having
that's
to
correct.
approve. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Commissioner Hester?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't think
Yeah, you're on.
Thank you. I simply wanted to say that I hope that this new elementary school would help us with overcrowding that we have at Oakview Elementary School and all of the construction that's going down the South Carruthers corridor. Could you help me with that, please, sir?
Ma'am, please do not defer the funding, because that's precisely the intent of this funding, is to relieve Oakview.
Thank you.
Commissioner Ford?
Commissioner Hester asked my question. I was curious which schools, you're not approving any zoning, I understand that, but I was just curious what overcrowded schools we were going to relieve with that, and Oakview is that. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any further questions? I see none. You ready to vote? If you're in favor of Resolution 318-4, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
19 yes, 1 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 318-5, resolution of the Williamson County Board of County Commissioners, approval of an intent to fund $2 million for the initial design and payments towards the sewer for a central middle school. School board, Commissioner Dwight Jones and Commissioner Little the second. School board, 11 yes, 0 no. Education committee. 6-4-0 against. Budget committee.
5-4-0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Jones.
Yes, this is the initial design and payments towards the sewer for the central middle school. This is our portion for the city of Franklin to do the work.
All right.
Miss him back lane.
Commissioner Hester.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am for this construction. It would involve the middle school on Henpeck Lane. However, I do want to express that I have concerns for some of my, and Commissioner Herbert, some of our constituents that will have eminent domain in their backyards because of this sewer construction. Thank you.
All right. Any further questions? I see none. Ready to vote? If you're in favor of Resolution 318-5, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson. Resolution passes. Resolution 318-6, resolution of the Williamson County Board of County Commissioners, approval of an intent to fund $6,800,000 for completion of the final phase for the construction of middle school auditoriums. Second. Commissioner Hullett. Do I have a second? Commissioner Dwight Jones, a second. School Board, 11 yes, 0 no. Education Committee,
6 yes, 0 no.
Budget Committee,
5-4-0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Jones.
Yes, this is the final two middle schools, auditoriums, and Dr. Looney has reassured me that he will not be asking for auditoriums at elementary schools.
All right, any discussion? Commissioner Mason?
So this predates my time on the county commission. I'm just curious, which two schools are the final two? And how many schools have we already funded for auditoriums?
Thank you, Commissioner, for your question. It'd be Grassland Middle School and Sunset.
Okay.
This will be the completion of all of our projects. It will have been, I believe, a total of 10.
So we've already funded 8? Is
Yes,
that
ma'am.
correct? Thank you.
You ready to vote? If you're in favor of Resolution 318-6, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson. Resolution passes.
What did he do? A dance.
Do we need medical people here?
He needs to perform in the auditorium.
Resolution 318-7, resolution of the Williamson County Board of Commissioners, approval of an intent to fund of $1 million for initial design improvements and new construction at Independence High School.
Move for approval.
Proper motion, is there a second?
Commissioner Hester.
Commissioner Little. School Board, 11 yes, 0 no. Education Committee,
6 yes, 0 no.
Budget Committee,
5-4-0 no.
explanation, Commissioner Jones.
Yes, this is some improvements for Independence High School.
All right,
Pass.
any questions? I see none. Oh,
I've got
Commissioner Mason.
one comment, Mr. Chair. The school director said that this will help as the high schools go to 2,200 students capacity.
okay. Commissioner Mason?
And just a follow-up to Commissioner Webb. Can anybody provide a little more detail about what the $1 million is intending to fund at Independence?
Yes, Madam Commissioner, thank you for your question. This will allow us to begin the design process for a multi-story classroom addition.
Okay. So it'll go to help relieve overcrowding?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Thank you.
If you're ready to vote, if you're in favor of Resolution 318-7, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
20 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 318-8, resolution of the Williamson County Board of County Commissioners, approval of an intent to fund $3,200,000 for renovations to Fairview Middle School.
Move for approval.
Second.
Commissioner Jones, Commissioner Webb, the second. School Board, 11 yes, 0 no. Education Committee,
6-4-0 against.
Budget Committee,
5-4-0 against.
explanation, Commissioner Jones.
These are some upgrades and renovation taking place at Fairview Middle School.
Okay.
One of our older middle schools, as Dr. Looney put it.
Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to note that this was built in 1980, according to school officials, so it's one of our older campuses.
All right. Any
That's not
discussion?
true.
Well, that's what they told us.
I see none. If you're in favor of Resolution 318-8, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson. Resolution passes. Resolution 318-9, resolution requesting an intent to fund in the amount of $2,065,000 for the Williamson County Board of Education 2017-18 major asphalt needs. Mr. Hullett, Who was the second? Commissioner Little, the second. School Board, 11 yes, 0 no. Education Committee,
6-0 no.
Budget Committee,
5-4-0 against.
explanation, Commissioner Jones.
Yes, this is paving and asphalt. Just major asphalt needs across the county.
All right. Any discussion? I see none. If you're in favor of Resolution 318-9, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson. Oh, wait a minute. All right. Resolution passes. Resolution 31810, resolution appropriating and amending the 2017-18 Sheriff's Office employee benefits and other charges budgets by $965,311.78. Provide funding for the placement of 8 additional school resource officers district-wide and funding for an officer at the administrative complex. Revenues to come from unappropriated county general funds. Commissioner Hullett. Commissioner Kestner, second. Let's see, Law Enforcement Committee.
It's not listed there, Mr. Chairman. I believe it's 4 yes, 0 no.
Okay. HR Committee.
That's you, Jim.
It was 5 yes, 0 no.
Okay. Budget Committee
5-4-0 against.
and Education Committee.
6-4-0 against.
All right. Commissioner Smith or Webb, y'all want to?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'll, as Chair of Law Enforcement, I'll try to explain this. If she were here tonight, I would gladly defer to Commissioner Sturgeon because she's the one that actually brought this this action to us in discussions with Sheriff Long about the upcoming need for additional SROs for our schools, with additional schools coming online, with the difficulty that Sheriff Long has had in providing backups for SROs who have to be out for illness or various other reasons. There are certain schools at certain times that may not be covered the way we intend for them to be. The idea on some of these officers is for them to be at the larger schools over 1,500 students. You would then have 2 SROs for that size school. And you will also have some floaters and officers that will be trained and be ready to occupy the new schools when they come online. So with everything going on in the world today, as Dr. Looney has impressed upon us, the safety of students is of paramount importance. Sheriff Long holds that same view, and I would ask for your support.
All right. Any questions? Okay, Commissioner Ford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just like Commissioner Smith, I wanted to recognize Commissioner Sturgeon for her leadership on this. It was requested and initiated from her, and I know she is sorry that she can't be here, but I do want to just say I appreciate her leadership on this most important subject.
Commissioner Lawrence.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think I completely agree with Commissioner Smith and Commissioner Ford and Dr. Looney. School safety is paramount, and it's one of our most important responsibilities. And I know Sheriff Long, I've talked to him actually after the school shooting in Florida about some ideas to help improve school security. And however, and I appreciate also Commissioner Sturgeon bringing this resolution tonight. However, I do think it might be in our best interest to defer this for several reasons. This was actually not I don't think Sheriff Long was going to bring this up immediately until possibly the summer for the next school year. But right now, the governor has convened a task force on school safety, and he's even said that he may call a special session if they can't get something done within the next few weeks before the state legislature completes their legislative session. So I think it might be best for us to wait and see what they do, if perhaps they put some additional funding into school safety, or perhaps they have other ideas that will improve school safety that they will fund. And we should probably know that by the May meeting. And you know, they're also voting on legislation to consider arming teachers. I know there's different opinions about that. I think that's an issue the school board should take up if they do approve that, and vet that idea. And if that idea is something that the school board decides they want to go ahead with, that could influence this decision somewhat. And lastly, I think that we actually haven't asked the school board if this is what they think is best for the schools right now for school safety. If we gave them $1 million and said, we're going to give you $1 million to improve school safety, would this be the plan that they come up with, or would they come up with something else? So I think it would be best for us to get their input before we vote on this as well. So for those reasons, I would like to propose that we amend this resolution until the May meeting, or defer this resolution until the May meeting.
All right. Proper motion. Is there a second?
Can you, point of order, can you move to defer if you spoke?
Can you what?
No.
Can you move to defer if you spoke to it?
You certainly can't when you're moving to table. I'm not sure about a motion to defer to a definite time. That would be in the ruling of the chair. I believe you're correct.
I just always thought you could not move to defer and speak to the...
You cannot table it. You cannot move to table. That's a separate motion than a motion to defer to a definite time. But I think you're right, but that would be certainly within the purview of the chair to rule.
Gosh, no pressure.
It is debatable, yes. That was I'm okay with this motion. I just thought you couldn't do it if you'd spoke.
I wasn't under the impression to defer it, because I usually thought you could give an explanation why you wanted to defer it.
I believe that you can make the motion to defer because that motion is debatable, whereas a motion to table is not, which is why you can't make your statement and then move to table. So I believe that just from my understanding of Robert's rules.
So you think he's good?
I think he is, but I'm not the one to make the call.
You have to make the rule.
I agree. I think he's good.
That's fine. Just questioning.
But yeah, that's a gray area there. All right. We've got a proper motion. Did we have a second? Second. Commissioner Danner, the second. So, Kate, you. While she's typing that in, I would like to ask the mayor if we could. One of these positions are for security here at this complex. I would not think that they would need to go through the SRO program to be security here.
That is correct. They would not be SRO.
Yeah.
They'd just be law enforcement under the jurisdiction of the sheriff. He would appoint. It'd actually probably come, I could get Jeff to come up if you don't mind, but they'll come under Freddie Moore out of the courthouse, I would suspect. Is that correct? Correct, Sheriff?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, yes, our opinion would be that we would assign it to our court security division. That way, if this individual happened to be sick or be out that day, we'd supplement it with other personnel from our court services division.
Okay, well, I mean, I guess the follow-up question, can we wait till funding to do this, or do you think it's a need now?
Mr. Chairman, your motion has carried it to defer the whole thing unless there's something else.
Till May.
All right, well, we've got a bunch of people that want to talk. Commissioner Hullett?
I didn't get a chance to speak.
Commissioner Danner?
Thank you very much. Sorry, I
Yeah.
seconded a motion. I
No,
didn't get a
no,
chance to speak.
Okay.
Okay, and I'll speak to the deferment. Wait, Sheriff, that's actually what I was going to do, was my initial question on this was to, I actually was not asking about the governor's task force, but instead I was aware of some legislation going through the House, and so that is why I seconded the motion to defer, because I'd like to see what they do. But I'd really like to get your opinion on some of that legislation, if you're aware of it, going through the House in regards to other ways of providing safety training.
I've seen 2 bills, there's several more out, but 2 of them that I've seen, as Mr. Commissioner Lawrence said, one is about arming teachers and personnel in our school system. I will tell you that I think Williamson County, and you, the commissioners in particular, have set the standard of what it should be for the state of Tennessee. You have allowed us to put well-qualified, trained sheriff's deputies in our schools, and I feel like in this day and time, they are able to meet whatever need we need to meet. Should we, God, I hope never happen, have an event in our community like that. Teachers are taught to teach. They're not taught to defend the students in their classroom. They are taught to lock their students down. They're taught to follow their school plans, but they're not taught to take a human life or use deadly force or do any of the other things that are necessary in that. And I understand some counties are not as fortunate as we are. I get that. I mean, I know they're trying to look for other remedies to the problem other than giving the SROs for the community. The new legislation, I just got a copy of it today, allows the commissions to hire off-duty officers to supplement, not take away SROs, but to supplement that. Or I think it also gave the authority to be highway patrol. It also gave the authority to be constables, and there's 3 or 4 other things that are in that bill. I am proud of what you have done here in this community. I would urge you that let's not wait. Let's go ahead. It takes time to hire these people. First of all, it's hard to find certified officers who are out there willing to come at the pay that we're paying right now. So searching the various counties and places we have to do, it takes a while to get those people. And then we have to put them through the school resource training course. So I would hate to think, and Commissioner Lawrence, you and I have talked about this, my initial plan was to ask for them in July. But after the Florida incident, I'd much rather be safe than sorry, and I think we should go ahead and do it, get these people through the training we need. And these schools, now remember, these are schools, the 4 of them are for schools that are over 1,500 students population. Plus, those schools are 2-story schools. If you have an SRO on one level, you've got a whole level not being protected at all. So I encourage you to let's go ahead and try to fill these positions now.
All right, Commissioner Hullett?
Sheriff, thank you, Chairman. Dr. Looney, could you come up as well? Sheriff, and just for you real quick, a question was asked at budget, and I wish you would repeat the answer that you gave because I thought it was very valid. The question was asked, and it was on a cost incentive base, what the difference would be between a security officer and then having a trained SRO, and your answer was great, and I wish you would just say it into the record. And then Dr. Looney, after that, if you would both kind of tell us about how the conversations went to get us to this point, please.
Well, I think Commissioner, I think you're looking at quality and not to talk about security guards. I mean, they have a function, but they're not trained. They're not trained with a number of hours. They don't go to the academies we go to. They haven't had the law enforcement experience. So you're hiring a person who is approved by the Department of Commerce and Insurance, not through the law enforcement standards. And so, you know, our officers go through of course, we normally hire in our detention division, and we have a 6-week academy there. Then they work for another 10 weeks with a senior officer. That's 16 weeks initially. and then they're in the detention center for a while. Then they come out, they go through the Law Enforcement Training Academy at Donaldson, which is 10 or 12 weeks now. Also, they work through our field training program back again. And then, of course, if they go to school resource, they go through the school resource officer training program, as well as the in-service training we give them, and also the training we give them in situations involving school shootings.
Quick follow-up? And Sheriff, you also mentioned in budget about how they have the authority to arrest and...
They do. A security guard does not have the authority in the event at school, and the deputies are used frequently for that purpose. I think, I've forgotten what one of the SROs told me at one of the higher 1,500 plus college or campuses the other day, and it was enormous, the number of people he had hired or had to arrest this school year already.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Looney, if you could just tell us how the conversation went to where we got to this point.
Well, first and foremost, we are fully in support of the sheriff adding additional law enforcement officers to our schools. We think it's a critical piece of a complex and comprehensive safety plan. The fact that they have police powers, whereas nobody else does, is significant. The sheriff has, and his law enforcement officers in our school district have prevented school shooting crises in our district. In this district, I want you to hear that. They have stopped actions from happening. If right now, if one of his law enforcement officers is sick, then he's trying to figure out who's going to cover that school, and sometimes there's nobody to cover the school. So hiring these additional officers gives him the backup that he needs in order to provide safety when somebody else is out. And just as importantly, they do so much more than prevent a school shooting or respond to a school shooting. They're dealing with the opioid crisis. They're building relationships with students that in some cases have run-ins with the law enforcement officers outside of the school campus. They're keeping fights from developing. They're making sure they're helping with searches. They're helping with counseling. They're building relationships with students so that law enforcement is seen as a partner in our community rather than just a cop who's something that the students should be afraid of. And so they do so much more than just provide physical security. And I will tell you, I can't imagine having school without them these days.
Thank you, Dr. Lynn. Mr. Chairman, if I could say one other. Commissioner Lawrence, you're asking about the July date, too. You and I had discussed that. I've got to give Commissioner Sturgeon credit. She came to me and wanted to go ahead and do this matter now and thought it was necessary to do it, and I told her at the Florida incident, I think we need to move.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank y'all.
Hey, Sheriff.
May I ask the sheriff a question? Or, no? Okay.
You've already spoken.
Yeah, I did. I just
Okay.
wanted to know if I could
Well,
ask a
we got a
question.
bunch of people want to speak.
Yeah, okay.
Commissioner Mason?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sheriff, I've got a question for you, if you don't mind coming back up here. A motion has been made to defer. If you would please speak to the amount of time, and you have a little bit, if you were to hire somebody tomorrow, how many weeks of training would it take, one, to prepare them to become an SRO? Two, if you were to take an existing officer who's already accredited through a law enforcement academy, how much time would it take? And then three, and correct me if I'm wrong, are there not, I don't want to say active shooter, but there are trainings that take place over the summer that are beneficial to SROs when it comes to school-related incidents. So if this vote was deferred to May, how would that delay or impact August with the start of the 2018 school year and these additional school resource officers?
We are currently searching for post-certified officers from other areas to try to hire. We have 3 in the works right now that are doing the physical agility test and doing backgrounds to try to see if they qualify or not. If we could get those officers who are already through the academy, we could put them through a 1-week school resource officer program, put them in one of the schools with some of our SROs for a week or 2, let them learn our process, our report writing, and have them into a school. If they don't have the certification through post, you're looking at a 10 to 12 week delay getting them through that. then getting them through the SRO training, and then also getting them acclimated to go into the school also. So it's delaying it at least another 5 to 6 months.
And what about any type of special training over the summer that all the SROs as a whole take place?
Well, it's not just the SROs, it's our whole division, our whole office. Our patrol division, all of the court security division, every division we have does shooter training. You know, when we talk about schools, let's not forget we have other public buildings that are just as dangerous that could happen someday. So those people have to be trained also. Yes, we normally during the summer find a school that we can run the whole group through and do practice, not only with us, with our local partners, with all the other partners we have as first responders, and do that as an active group together in our training in the summer level, as well as on a monthly basis in our shift training and everything.
And so if this vote was deferred to May, would that potentially impact your ability to put these extra SRO officers into schools come August?
Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Webb?
I was just speaking to the first one. I think the mayor just, the sheriff just answered that. If we don't vote on this tonight, we could delay it 4 to 5 months before the SROs are ready to be in the schools.
Even after July, it would be that long. It would be 3 or 4 months.
So if we pass tonight and do not defer, then you can start tomorrow if this passes, and they'll be ready for August.
If this passes, I have interviews set for Wednesday.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Lothers?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Actually, Sheriff Long and Dr. Looney have addressed my issues. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Pear?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question's been answered.
All right.
That's it.
That's it. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, based on Sheriff Lawrence's comments, I'd like to withdraw the amendment. I think based on what his recommendation is tonight. Just withdraw the referral.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner Lawrence.
And the second, Mr. Danner.
If we had, the state does approve some funding for this, and we approve this tonight, we'll be able to come back and reallocate these funds.
Well, I think typically if we approve this and the sheriff doesn't spend it, it goes back to the general fund. So I think if the state came in with some money and which
So we
would
could
leave a
reallocate those
surplus.
dollars somewhere else.
Yeah.
Okay.
The proposed legislation does not supplement school resource officers that I saw.
They're talking about the possibility in that task force, though, is my understanding. So,
Thank you for withdrawing, Commissioner
Yes.
Lawrence and Commissioner Danner. Thank you.
All right, y'all ready to vote? If you're in favor of Resolution 31810, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson. Resolution passes. Resolution 31811, resolution appropriating and amending the 2017-18 Health Department budget by $7,500, revenues to come from donations. Commissioner Webb?
Move for approval.
Second.
Commissioner Lothers, the second. Public Health Committee. I don't know if they met. We'll move on. Budget Committee.
5-4-0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Webb.
As you can see, the Public Health Department has the donations. It's going to allow children to log number of minutes of physical activity for a 5-kilometer and 1-mile fund run, and these were not anticipated in the budget process, so we recommend for approval.
All right. Any questions? I see none. If you're in favor of Resolution 31811, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson. Resolution passes. Resolution appropriating and amending the 2017-18 animal care budget by $7,056, revenues to come from unappropriated county general fund balance.
Move for approval.
Commissioner Pear. Commissioner Little, the second. Budget Committee.
5-4-0 again.
Explanation, Commissioner Payer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This resolution would allow the Animal Control Department to hire a part-time custodial staff person to help. They had previously been using some of the inmate labor work detail program through the Sheriff's Department, and I understand that is coming to an end. So it's 28 and a half hours a week.
Okay. Any questions? I see none. If you're in favor of Resolution 31812, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson. Resolution passes. Resolution 31813, resolution appropriating and amending the 2017-18 animal control budget by $6,000, revenues to come from unappropriated county general fund balance. Commissioner Payer?
Move for approval.
Second.
Commissioner Little, the second. Budget Committee?
5-4-0 again.
Explanation, Commissioner Payer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. About a month ago, there was a fire hydrant on the property of the animal control building that was determined there was an underground water leak. Essentially, it was on our side of the line. The City of Franklin has adjusted the water bill. Initially, it was about $9,800. The City of Franklin wrote off the sewer portion, which was $4,600, leaves us with a $5,200 water bill. If we were to pay it, I understand that would clean out that line item for the year. So this would help fund the bills for the remainder of the fiscal year.
All right. Any discussion? I see none. If you're in favor of Resolution 31813, press your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson. All right. Resolution passes. Resolution 31814, resolution appropriating and amending the 2017-18 Parks and Rec Capital Improvements Plan by $20,000, revenues to come from donations. Commissioner Hester?
Move for approval.
Second.
Commissioner Herbert, the second. Parks and Rec Committee?
Parks and Rec did not meet.
Okay. Budget Committee?
5-4-0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Hester.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a resolution concerning the soccer fields in Fairview that have been very utilized over the years, and this is from donations completely from the Youth Association and the City of Fairview to fund a new irrigation project for these soccer fields.
All right. Any discussion? I see none. If you're in favor of Resolution 31814, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson. Resolution passes. Resolution 31815, resolution appropriating and amending the 2017-18 Parks and Rec Capital Improvement Plan by $325,000, revenues to come from privilege tax. Commissioner Hester?
Move for approval.
Commissioner Dwight Jones, the second. Parks and Rec Committee didn't meet. Budget Committee?
5-4-0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Hester.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a capital improvement plan for the indoor pool at the Franklin Recreational Complex. We need an improvement for the water and air quality to the indoor pool area, and this project, this improvement plan will be funded by revenues from the privilege tax.
Okay. Any discussion? I see none. Didn't we just do this over at Brentwood? Is that right? Okay.
Ms. Lathers.
Okay, Beth?
Mr. Chairman, I was just asking what the Parks and Rec Committee vote was. I didn't have that down.
Well, they didn't meet.
They did not meet on it,
Yeah.
just budget. Okay, thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. You ready to vote? If you're in favor of Resolution 31815, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson. Resolution passes. Resolution 31816. Resolution appropriating and amending the 2017-18 Office of Public Safety and Williamson County Sheriff's Office budgets by $89,200 for personnel and equipment. Revenues to come from Emergency Management Assistant Compact, EMAC, reimbursements for mutual aid assistance to Texas and Florida. Commissioner Smith?
Move for approval.
Second.
Commissioner Osbrooks, the second. Law Enforcement Committee?
5 yes, 0 no.
All right. Budget Committee?
5-4-0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Smith.
This is reimbursement for the manpower and equipment that we sent to Texas and Florida last year during those hurricanes, and through the mutual aid provided by various states in times of disaster like that. So
Okay.
we're being reimbursed for that, some of
All
that
right.
cost.
Any discussion? I see none. If you're in favor of Resolution 31816, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson. Resolution passes. Resolution 31817, resolution appropriating and amending the 2017-18 Circuit Court Clerk's budget by $15,000, revenues to come from a reserve account. Commissioner Smith?
Move for approval.
Second.
Commissioner Osbrooks, second. Law Enforcement Committee?
4 yes, 0 no.
Budget Committee?
5-4-0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Smith.
This is data processing office equipment that's being purchased out of the reserve fund that's maintained and accumulated for that purpose.
Okay. Any discussion? I see none. If you're in favor of Resolution 31817, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson. Resolution passes. Resolution 31818, resolution authorizing the county mayor to enter into a contractual agreement between the state of Tennessee and Williamson County for pass-through federal funding to subsidize emergency management. Commissioner Smith?
Move for approval.
Second.
Commissioner Osbrooks, the second. Law Enforcement Committee?
4 yes, 0 no.
Budget Committee?
5-4-0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Smith.
This is federal through state grant money provided for our emergency management services. The match for this money is already in the budget.
All right. Any discussion? I see none. If you're in favor of Resolution 31818, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson. Resolution passes. Next, we have late file Resolution 31838, resolution appropriating and amending the 2017-18 employee benefits and other charges budgets by $40,045.55 to provide funding for 3 additional personnel, revenues to come from unappropriated county general funds. Let's see. Who's sponsored? Commissioner Webb?
Move for approval.
Second.
Commissioner Little, the second. Budget Committee?
5-4-0 against.
Law Enforcement Committee?
4 yes, 0 no.
Human Resources Committee?
It was 5-4-0 against.
All right. Explanation, Commissioner Webb.
You can see before you, the amount is to approve pro rata benefits for 2 full-time youth service officer and 1 diversional specialist in the details.
All right. Any discussion? I see none. Ready to vote? In favor of Resolution 31838, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson. Resolution passes. Resolution, late file Resolution 31839. Resolution appropriating and amending the 2017-18 Election Commission budget by $121,137.99. Revenues to come from unappropriated county general fund balance. Commissioner Webb?
Move for approval.
Commissioner Holtz, the second. Budget Committee?
5-4-0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Webb.
This is the pay the election for the election of the sales tax referendum.
All right. Any discussion? See none. If you're in favor of Resolution 31839, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson. Resolution passes. Resolution 31819, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to enter into an interlocal agreement with the Williamson County Board of Education and the Franklin Special School District for the provision of alternative learning school services. Commissioner Smith?
Move for approval.
Second.
Commissioner Allsbrooks, the second. Law Enforcement Committee?
4 yes, 0 no.
Budget Committee?
5-4-0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Smith.
This is an agreement that allows for alternative school services to be provided efficiently and for information to be shared when necessary within the scope of their services and the school systems.
Okay. Any discussion? I see none. If you're in favor of Resolution 31819, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson. Resolution passes. Resolution 31820, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to... Oh, yeah. 31820 is pulled. Yes. Sorry about that. My fault. 31821, resolution declaring certain county-owned weapons surplus to be exchanged with a licensed and qualified law enforcement weapons dealer. Commissioner Smith?
Move for approval.
Second.
Commissioner Allsbrooks, the second. Law Enforcement Committee?
4 yes, 0 no.
Property Committee?
4-0 against.
All right. Budget Committee?
5-4-0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Smith.
These are 2 weapons that have outlived their usefulness for our service, and they can be traded in for newer models that are needed by the Sheriff's Department.
All right. Any discussion? I see none. If you're in favor of Resolution 31821, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson. Resolution passes. Resolution 31822, resolution to repeal the 2009 International Building Code, the 2009 International Residential Code, the 2009 International Plumbing Code, and the 2009 International Mechanical Code, and adopt the 2015 International Building Code, the 2015 International Residential Code, excluding Section R313.2, 1 and 2 family dwellings, automatic fire sprinkler systems pursuant to TCA 68-120-101A8 and Chapters 34 and 43 relating to electrical, the 2015 International Plumbing Code, and the 2015 International Mechanical Code. Y'all get that? I don't want to read that again. Commissioner Herbert?
Move for approval.
Commissioner Hullett, the second. Planning Commission, 8-0. Okay. Budget Committee,
5-4-0 against.
explanation, Commissioner Herbert.
By statute, the county's required to adopt a newer version of the code, and I'll let Joe Horn answer any questions anybody has.
All right, Commissioner Pear?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You will.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Commissioner Pear, do you have a question?
I was just wanting to make sure I was reading it correctly, that this does not adopt a sprinkler requirement for 1 and 2 family homes.
That is correct.
Dwellings, okay.
That's what the TCA code annotated references. The state of the whole state of Tennessee opted out of residential fire sprinklers.
Okay. Is there a trigger for residents, like single-family detached homes, over a certain square footage that would require a sprinkler system?
No, sir. Not only if they're townhomes.
Okay.
Because they're joined together.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Commissioner Kester?
The planning staff on this, and I think that the sprinkler requirement ought to not be required, because while fires are horrible, devastating events, there are huge amounts of damage every year from frozen residential sprinkler pipes that burst and flood houses, and that decision ought to be left up to the individual homeowner if they want to have that, as opposed to having any government tell them that they must have it. So, thank you.
All right. Commissioner Lothers?
I think that maybe my question's been answered. Obviously, town of Nolensville adopted mandatory sprinklers, and, we have over 70% of our country's firefighters are volunteer. So I guess, I'm going to vote with this, and it's unanimous for the county, but I've also seen the positive side, and we've had fires where lives have been saved through the sprinklers, but I will go along with the county recommendation. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Any further discussion? I see none. If you're in favor of Resolution 31822, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson. Resolution passes. Resolution 31823, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to enter into an agreement with the State of Tennessee Department of Children's Services for the reimbursement of housing juveniles in the Williamson County Juvenile Detention Center. Commissioner Smith?
Move for approval.
Second.
Commissioner Allsbrooks, the second. Law Enforcement Committee?
4 yes, 0 no.
Budget Committee?
5-4-0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Smith.
Williamson County is eligible to apply for reimbursement from the state for housing these juveniles, and that's what this provides for.
All right. Any discussion? I see none. If you're in favor of Resolution 31823, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson. Oh, wait a minute, yeah. All right. Resolution passes. Resolution 31824, resolution for the governing body of Williamson County supporting proposed state legislation relative to emissions testing. Commissioner Jones?
Move for approval.
Second. Commissioner Dwight Jones, the second. Budget Committee?
5-4-0 against.
Explanation.
Yes, we have State Senator Watson and Representative Carter in the Chattanooga area who are trying to stop or remove the emissions requirement of 6 counties, since we're EPA compliant and Williamson County happens to be one of them. In fact, Rutherford County is going to vote on a same resolution in support of this state bill to remove those requirements on the testing, emission testings.
All right. Dwight, follow up? You got it?
Actually, this changes a little bit of
Changes
this.
it, yeah.
I don't want everybody to flip out and say there's not gonna be an emission zone.
But it does change.
It changes it from letting it go from 1 year, having to do it every year to every 2 years.
2 years.
So,
All right. Commissioner Lawrence?
Yeah, I just have a question. So it says the fee would be the same, so it's just gonna be double the fee if you
Yeah.
get your car inspected every 2 years, you're gonna pay $18. You pay $9 now, so it's $18, is that right?
the way I've understood it, the fee will still be the same. They're just gonna, we're gonna move it to, every 2 years instead of every year. Now, when I say the fee the same, it'll be the same as you pay now. You just get a 2-year window is what I was explained to me.
So it's still gonna be $9, but it's gonna be good for 2 years. Okay.
I think the resolution states that it's going to be increased to offset the revenue loss from it. So it would be $9 per year, but you're paying it every 2 years, so you will pay
Okay.
$18. But it
Because
will be
the-
for a 2-year period, so it'll be the same amount.
Yeah, well, that was my question. So because the county gets how much? We get $2, right, from that $9 or?
We get $1.
We get $1.
Don't bump it.
Well, but that's 200,000 cars, so that's $200,000 a year. Yeah, okay.
And I
$1.
got my emissions the other day, and 190,000 of them were in front of me.
You should have gone through a kiosk.
I should have.
Kiosk didn't do emissions.
Yeah. All right. Are we ready to vote?
Okay.
If you're in favor of Resolution 31824, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson. Resolution passes. Resolution 31825, resolution combining the part-time court coordinator and the part-time case manager positions to one full-time case coordinator/manager position for the Veterans Court. Commissioner Smith?
For approval.
Second.
Commissioner Osbrook's second. HR Committee?
It was 5-4-0 against.
All right, thank you. Law Enforcement Committee?
4 yes, 0 no.
Budget Committee?
5-4-0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Smith.
This is presented as a new resolution. It's actually kind of amending previous action that was taken by these committees that approved 2 part-time positions. It was determined in talking with the grantor and in our human resources staff here that a one full-time position would be more efficient and more effective. And so that's what we've done, is introduce this to change it from 2 part-time to 1 full-time. Money doesn't change.
All right. Any questions? I see none. If you're in favor of Resolution 31825, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson. Resolution passes. Resolution 31826, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to execute an agreement with Schneider Electric. Commissioner Jones?
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Little, second. Property Committee?
6-4-0 against.
Budget Committee?
5-4-0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Jones?
Yes, we have 2 representatives from Schneider Electric in the audience. Appreciate them being patient tonight and hanging out a good meeting here. They're gonna do an audit of 11 county-owned buildings, that, between property management and Schneider, felt like that they would be the best cost saving. They're gonna give us an audit of what can be done to save money going forward. If either one of you'd like to speak, I'm not even gonna try to remember your names, so I apologize.
Sure. Well, first off, thank you for having us. I'm Kyle Keith. This is Todd Smith. Before we dive into that, I know you're trying to get through the agenda, but I'll just say we very much appreciate you guys having us right here in your backyard. We're so excited to be here. If you haven't been by our new office, we definitely encourage you to do that. One thing, I see a few of you waving fans around. One of the few things that we're looking at addressing some of the older facilities is some of the older mechanical systems in place and things like that. But yes, Commissioner was right. We've been working with property management and a few other staff members now for almost a year, having discussions around what we've been able to do with many other counties around the country to help address different deferred maintenance issues, upgrading buildings, modernizing facilities, and things of that nature. To get started on this, we've worked with them to identify 11 facilities around the county to take an initial look at. We'll be coming back to you guys over the course of the next few months to give you updates on that, what possibilities are in place to begin forwarding that message. But Todd, did you have anything to add to that?
Only thing I'll add, thank you again for having us, is that this is obviously the first phase of a plan. As Kyle said, we're very excited to be your corporate partner in your backyard. And we do hope that over the years we can make you an example, not only within the state of Tennessee, but across the entire southeast of the United States, so that we can bring our clients here to see the work that y'all hopefully will do through our programs, technologies, and services. So thank you again.
Thank you. Commissioner Danner?
Thank you. I'd like to ask the mayor a question about this. I think the schools did a similar exercise with Train, and I just wanted to confirm that that's the same kind of thing that we're doing here. And then I'd like to ask, I believe the schools had to bid that service out, and I'm wondering why we did not.
I see a finger. Come on up here, Kevin.
Sure.
No, go ahead.
Kevin Benson, Director of Property Management. Yes, we saw that the schools had done this with another organization. Basically, Schneider came to us. They moved in the area. They have these services of a Fortune 500 company, higher credential levels than what the schools partnered up with. So the direction that we've trying to go with is with Schneider Electric at this time, Commissioner.
Okay, the question is, why did we not bid it out?
Nina, we have no requirement to bid this out.
Okay, all right.
Commissioner Pear?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That was more or less my question as well.
All right. Mr. Logan?
Is my understanding it's more like a request for proposals versus a bid situation, so we have the authority to vote on this and not require bidding. Is that correct, Mayor? Correct. Okay, thanks.
Any further questions? I see none. Ready to vote? In favor of Resolution 31826, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
Yes, they don't know.
Resolution passes. Resolution 31827, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to enter into a lease agreement for motorcycles with TNHD Partners, LLC, DBA, Harley-Davidson of Cool Springs. Mr. Smith?
Move for approval.
Second. Mr. Osbrooks, the second. Law Enforcement Committee?
4 yes, 0 no.
Budget Committee?
5-4-0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Smith.
We have the opportunity through the generosity of the Harley-Davidson dealership in Cool Springs to lease these units for $1 a year. And that's not a bad deal.
All right, any discussion? I see none. In favor of Resolution 31827, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson. Oh, Greg. All right, now record the vote.
Yes, they don't know.
Resolution 31820, Resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to enter into an agreement with the Williamson County Hospital District, DBA Williamson Medical Center, to provide emergency medical services to prison inmates in the custody of the Williamson County Jail or Sheriff's Office at a discounted rate. Commissioner Smith?
Move for approval.
Second.
Commissioner Osbrooks, the second. Law Enforcement Committee?
4 yes, 0 no.
Budget Committee?
5-4-0 against.
Expedition Commissioner Smith?
This is an agreement with Williamson Medical Center that whereby they will provide service for inmates held by the Sheriff's Department at a greater discount than previously was done. It was 39%, now it's going to 47%.
All right, very good. Commissioner Little?
Just want to report, Purchasing and Insurance also heard this, and they voted to support it 4-0.
Oh, okay, it went on there. Very good, thank you. Any further discussion? I see none. You in favor of Resolution 3/1828, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson. Resolution passes. Resolution 3/1829, a resolution granting a cable franchise to Comcast Cablevision of Nashville I LLC and Comcast Cablevision of Nashville II LLC, a license to provide cable service. Commissioner Danner?
Move for approval?
Second.
Commissioner Little, the second. Property Committee?
6-4-0 against.
Tax Study Committee?
3-4-0 against?
Highway Commission?
4-0.
4-0. Budget Committee?
5-4-0 against.
Expedition Commissioner Danner?
Sure, this is a renewal. I will say I have an amendment, though, that I'll have to enter in
Okay.
from the County Highway Department. Do you want me to go ahead and read that amendment
Yes,
now?
please.
So they would like to insert after the word agreement on line 7, the paragraph beginning, now therefore be it resolved, they would like to insert subject to reasonable prior notice to the Williamson County Highway Department.
Okay. Proper motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Little, the second. Kate, is you ready? All right. You ready to vote on the amendment? All right. If you're in favor of amending Resolution 3/1829, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote. Ms. Anderson. All right, the amendment passes. So now we're back to the main resolution as amended. Any discussion on that? I see none. You ready to vote? If you're in favor of Resolution 3/1829 as amended, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson. Resolution passes. Resolution 3/1830, a resolution granting a franchise to Atmos Energy Corporation a license to provide the county of Williamson, Tennessee with natural gas service. Commissioner Danner?
Move for approval?
Second.
Commissioner Little, the second. Budget Committee?
5-4-0 against.
Highway Commission, 4-0 against. Tax Study?
3-4-0 against?
Yeah, okay. Explanation, Commissioner Danner?
Sure. This is similar to the one that we just amended. The state law allows us to, again, this is a renewal. State law allows us to collect. What?
Did you hit your button?
Now it's off.
Try it again. Try Greg's mic.
This really isn't that interesting. I'll try to make it interesting. Okay, there we go. So the state law allows us to enter into an agreement with these utilities where we give them right away, and they give us a fee that helps offset any costs we may have with that piece of property. That's it.
Okay. All right, you want to make an amendment?
I don't have an amendment to this one, do I? Oh, I do.
Same.
Okay, it's all right. All right. Sorry, same amendment. So inserting after the word agreement on line 7 of the paragraph beginning, now therefore be it resolved, they would like entered subject to reasonable prior notice to the Williamson County Highway Department.
All right, proper motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Little, the second. Kate, you ready? All right. You ready to vote on the amendment? In favor of the amendment, push your yes button and confirm.
Is it working?
Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Todd, you need to hit yours again. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson. All right, the amendment passes. So now we're back to the main resolution 3/1830 as amended. Any discussion on that? I see none. You ready to vote? In favor of 3/1830 as amended, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson. Resolution passes. Resolution 3/1831, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to enter into an agreement with the Emergent Trust to provide emergency medical services to prison inmates in the custody of Williamson County Jail or Sheriff's Office. Commissioner Smith?
Move for approval.
Second.
Commissioner Allsbrooks, the second. Law Enforcement Committee?
4 yes, 0 no.
Purchasing and Insurance?
4 yes, 0 no.
Budget Committee?
5-4-0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Smith.
Well, as in the case with Williamson Medical Center, providing discounted services, Emergent Trust is the group of physicians that for years has provided emergency medicine services in the ER at Williamson Medical Center. They're a separate organization. They bill separately from the hospital, and so that's why we have a separate resolution that covers them.
All right. Any discussion? I see none. If you're in favor of Resolution 3/1831, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson. Resolution passes. Resolution 3/1832, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to execute a lease agreement with Mid-Cumberland Meals on Wheels for office space in the County Community Services Building.
Move for approval.
Commissioner Joel? Who was the second? Commissioner Little, thank you. Property Committee?
6-4-0 against.
Budget Committee?
5-4-0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Jones.
All right, I'm gonna speed us up a little bit here, and the next 5 or 6 are gonna be the same thing we do every year or every 5 years. This is just a lease agreement with Meals on Wheels.
Okay. Any discussion? I see none. If you're in favor of Resolution 3/1832, push your yes button and confirm. Commissioner Fair?
Sorry, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to ask, this may be better for the mayor. The people that are getting these renewals, is everybody getting an extension in the building currently? Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Kestner?
The requirements in here for insurance, we do confirm with all these tenants that they really do have that coverage, right? Okay, thanks.
Will? Are we ready to vote? If you're in favor of Resolution 3/1832, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button, and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson. Resolution passes. Resolution 3/1833, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to execute a lease agreement with Mid-Cumberland Community Action Agency for office space in the County Community Services Building.
Move for approval.
Second.
Commissioner Jones and Commissioner Little, the second. Property Committee,
6-4-0 against.
Budget Committee,
5-4-0 against.
and Commissioner Jones, say this is more of the same.
This is a lease agreement with Mid-Cumberland Community Action Agency.
Okay. You ready to vote? If you're in favor of Resolution 3/1833, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson. Resolution passes. Resolution 3/1834, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to execute a lease agreement with Mid-Cumberland Human Resource Agency for office space in the County Community Service Building.
Move for approval.
Second.
Commissioner Jones, the motion. Commissioner Little, the second. Property Committee,
6-4-0 against.
Budget Committee,
5-4-0 against.
explanation, Commissioner Jones.
The same thing, this is Mid-Cumberland Human Resource Agency.
All right. If you're in favor of Resolution 3/1834, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson. Resolution passes. Resolution 3/1835, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to execute a lease agreement with the ARC of Williamson County Incorporated for the office space in the County Community Services Building. Mr. Jones?
Move for approval.
Commissioner Little, the second. Property Committee,
6-4-0 against.
Budget Committee,
5-4-0 against.
explanation, Commissioner Jones.
The same thing, just the ARC of Williamson County
All
Incorporated.
right. You ready to vote? If you're in favor of Resolution 3/1835, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson. Resolution passes. Resolution 3/1836, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to execute a lease agreement with Workforce Essentials Incorporated for lease of space in the County Community Services Building.
Move for approval.
Second.
Commissioner Little, the second. Property Committee,
6-4-0 against.
Budget Committee,
5-4-0 against.
explanation, Commissioner Jones.
Same thing, and the last one for Workforce Essentials Incorporated.
All right. Ready to vote? If you're in favor of Resolution 3/1836, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson. Resolution passes. Resolution to relinquish its interest in a portion. Oh, we've already done that one.
You're finished.
Ladies and gentlemen, that
Move to adjourn.
that ends, and want to thank the new kid, and he did a good job.
He did get a new guy for a rookie.